Tawa tenjung se ki tila tende tila jaman mushi sum di la vem ting sun je no de se shi sum yu yin la ten bi tenjung che cha xie la ten da bi tenjung che ta nie la ten da bi tenjung se.
And now with regard to
with regard to the view of dependent arising. So we talk about three types of dependent arisings, which are very clearly set forth by His Holiness the Dalai Lama when he gives teachings on the middling Lamrim, or when he gave teachings on the middling Lamrim. At that time he very clearly set forth those three types of dependent arising, which are dependent arising from the point of view of causes and conditions, so being dependent on causes and conditions, being dependent on parts, and being dependent on nominal conventions. So nominal convention referring to words. Nominal convention of words, terms.
Ta tanye la tene ta se du tanye se na ta kumba shi bi ta kumba ta bo ina kumba se ki ming di da ching di da ani kumba wo ne bi ta lo to ba o ti ni de ta tanye cha ru wa so de la tene ta bas.
So when we talk about nominal convention here, there's two ways of talking of nominal convention. One is the word vas, for instance. The word or the term vas, in order to refer to the object vas, so here it's the term or the word. That is one way in which conventions are applied, and the other way is by thinking vas. This is a vas. So this thought then again is a way in which one applies verbal conventions or conventions.
The mingi taba, and toba tiki taba, said that you don't have. That de la ming de la tene, ming da toba de la tene taba la dita carlever.
So we say applying this name, imputing this name, or a conception mind imputing. So this is kind of something that we've heard before that is renowned. So how about saying phenomena depend on terminology, phenomena depend on a term, phenomena depend on a conceptual consciousness. What does that really mean?
The dila du janeta ma tho ma de di abore di tuja re di namsha buji yoro di bangja re di langja re di namsha chama da di tena de chebi mingji yore di diwoni bi toba ji ge go re di wondu jin namsha che sha ba ma to mingda toba yu wondu ma jeni yu khura rangi thone namsha yo ma re ski ji di go.
So saying, for instance, I go, I stay. This is good, this is bad. This is an object to overcome, to abandon. This is an object to adopt. So with regard to applying these different names, it's saying that the object exists in dependence on a term. And then the mind thinking it is thus. So these two are responsible for phenomena existing. It is not that phenomena exist in and of themselves from their own side. So they don't exist from their own side, but they exist in dependence on terminology and a conceptual mind designating or imputing that terminology.
지선다 유강다 강인은 호랑이 모토를 제가 주는 이거 말봐. 다든지 니메 세들어. 디기는 유르기 문에 매봐. 유르기 울라라 소시 왕도 제 매버디 다데. 다 디메나 아니 컨테스 요레시디 아니 딘디 메네 다 타니지 요 인자 다 디디레세 민다 또버지 제기 요 인자 민다 또버 디왕도 진 요레스 딜라 라레비고니 요레스.
So then, with regard to an object, therefore, when we say the object does not exist from its own side, so the idea is here that with regard to the nature of the object, when we search for the object, when we look for the object, we cannot find it. We cannot find it. It is not findable. That object cannot be found upon looking for it. So this means that from the side of this object, from the side of the object doesn't exist. There's no existence from the side of that object. So it doesn't exist through the power of the object itself, there is no existence. So then, how does the object exist? What is its mode of existence? So saying that it doesn't exist independently from the side of the object, well then, the way it exists by way of verbal conventions, and a conceptual consciousness that applies those verbal conventions, saying this is that. So it is through the power of verbal conventions, it is through the power of the conceptual consciousness that applies those conventions that the phenomenon exists. So therefore, phenomena exist in reliance on those verbal conventions and on the mind that applies those conventions. So during the previous teachings, His Holiness emphasized this point. His Holiness mentioned this point, that phenomena exist in dependence or in reliance on conceptual consciousness.
디긴 라와메 바테시에기 디티시디 바텐다 와타베 진도 셴라 라레바송 아니 딘디 셴라 라레바시 타니비 도벌시 라레바나 샤워레스네 제르무시 세바데 디마 임버주 셴라 라레바 데sam나잖아 라바차루레스.
So for instance, in Ayadeva's 400 verses, it is said that phenomena do not exist independently. Then Chandrakirti specifies this, or Chandrakirti explains this more specifically by saying that phenomena exist in dependence on something other than themselves. And then even more specifically, Lama Tsongkhapa explains this to mean that phenomena exist in dependence on conventional verbal conventions. So here saying that phenomena exist in dependence on causes and conditions, if this is the only way that one specifies their existence, their dependence with regard to causes and conditions, that would be too coarse, that would be too gross. So here, to understand the subtle dependence, we talk about dependence on verbal conventions, as explained by Lama Tsongkhapa. So, for instance, when we talk about perceiving a rope, a speckled coiled rope, is perceiving this mistakenly as being a snake, in that case we say this is merely imputed by a conceptual consciousness. However, this does not depend, this wrongly perceived snake, that snake does not depend on a conceptual consciousness because it doesn't exist in the first place.
좀된디기 에네 시칭이도 니티낭로라 딱바섬도 세 용송 딱바레 중스 냠도 송도
따바섬도
세 용송 딱바레 중스 딱바섬도 세 딱바섬레 시고라.
So the Buddha himself, he specified, he explained in one of the Prajnaparamita Sutras, the Prajnaparamita Sutra in 20,000 verses, he says that phenomena exist as merely imputed, or phenomena are merely imputed. So they are thoroughly arisen through imputation. So phenomena, I repeat, phenomena are merely imputed. They thoroughly arise through being imputed. So when we say arise through imputation, what that implies or what that means is that phenomena arise in dependence on imputation. So arising through imputation means arising in dependence on imputation.
따따벌레 중세에 코 여버송하디 따비 원기 여버송하레스 지상 안에 따벌레 따벌레 중 따딜레 뒤자네 페나 가장저부디 다링레 때네 아니 가장저버레스 아니 교레 때네 가사 제부디 제부레 때네 규저버레스 어디 고어디 킨 조나 아니 신의 고어디 만으로 렌투베기를 와요.
So some people misunderstand this statement. They misunderstand saying that phenomena arise in dependence on imputation. They mistakenly understand this to mean that phenomena first are imputed and then they come into existence. So in other words, there's this misperception that the imputation, the designation of a phenomenon is the cause of the phenomenon. So this is wrong. This is a misperception in the sense that it doesn't depend. There's no cause and effect relationship. That the designation, the labeling of a phenomenon, the imputing of a phenomenon is not the cause of that phenomenon. So how do we understand that? We understand that by saying that yesterday, today depends on yesterday. Today depends on yesterday for its existence. And likewise, the cause depends on the result for its existence. So when we understand that relationship, that the cause depends on its result, that today depends on yesterday for it to be today. When we understand that relationship, we can understand the fact that phenomena exist through the power of imputation. They're not the result of imputation, but they exist through the force of, through the power of, by way of imputation.
디지디전에 제가 돈이 지시제도 더든지는 얘기면 두스 아니 또베 따바점레스 제시 대점 결제 또벌라라데 시에기 단다 기제디 시다마셰와 있나 아니 카시 디스코너 되기면 좋습니다.
So when giving this explanation with regard to emptiness, so saying that phenomena do exist as being merely imputed by conceptual consciousness. So explaining that they cannot be found upon engaging in ultimate analysis. So upon searching for a phenomenon, the phenomenon cannot be found. So therefore they're merely imputed by conceptual consciousness. So the sense that phenomena depend on a conceptual consciousness. So by just taking that to mind, this misunderstanding may arise, that one may have this misperception that imputation is the cause of phenomena.
지금 책에서 가능원도 교육세 내 고는 발라 최다 맞아요 고는 지도 치토바.
So with regard to the eight worldly dharmas, so any of the eight worldly dharmas and so forth arising in one's continuum, in order to subdue those, what are the methods that can be applied with regard to the methods that do not relate to the dharma? What are the kind of methods one can apply to subdue those eight worldly dharmas not in connection to the dharma?
가서 이미 대세주 가도를 대세 시에와 다다하라는 것이 딱히 보지는 수수의 조리적으로 딱히 이 배나 계좌다 년다라고 그러다 뒤니 인정이 받아 때때받아 매번이디 냠고에나 때비 교회 갈때 매비 다가 만년에디 매비 교회의 통 때비 윤된의 통 버시 통 되게 많이 맞아들어 딜레다 매비 윤된데다 때비 교회디 디제셔나 네 nhập.
So this is actually an explanation Geshe-la gave a few days ago, basically with regard to how to overcome unhappiness, how we can overcome unhappiness from the point of view of not the Dharma, but just in general. So the kind of reasonings here, one should take the reasonings and kind of organize them in order to then understand the reasonings here. So with regard to fame and reputation in particular, so with regard to being famous, being high up there as opposed to being low down there. So the sense of being high as in like having a certain name, being high up in terms of one's status. So usually we just consider the advantages of having high status. We consider the advantages and the disadvantages of low status. So likewise we should do this now, we should balance it out in the sense of also considering the disadvantages of high status. Not just the advantages, but also the disadvantages. And likewise consider the advantages of having low status. So in that way we can overcome, with this technique we can overcome the kind of wrong perceptions or the negative emotions we have in connection to this.
다때다 매기 톤에 감이가 용해디 수수익 퇴마 대성에마도 무변이 쓰다 아니 수수를 때렸다 베갑래 신다지기 메르탄데요레 메르탄 베갑래 마가와시 제와의 요말 신다지기 되레탄데요레스 진주나다 디수메.
So as it says in the Bodhisattva way of life with regard to having high status, having low status. So here this is just something from the point of view of one's own perception of something, of perceiving, of hearing something, hearing a specific praise or a specific criticism here. So one should take into consideration when someone when someone praises oneself, well, someone else is being criticized. Whereas if one is criticized, another person is being praised. Or when one is being criticized, another person praises oneself. Whereas when one is being praised by someone, another person criticizes oneself. So it's just a matter of what one hears or what one perceives.
아니 미카시기다 메르탄의 체계입니다. 미카시 마가와 제네 기버시다 게입니다. 그래서는 미창만 가부제세지 딩딩의 저와도 이기래디 디미시버.
So some people, their reaction is that when someone criticizes them, they don't care. They don't mind if they're being criticized. Others, they don't mind when others don't like them. So of course, to some degree, there's some hope within us that that everyone likes us. But actually, that is impossible. It is impossible that everyone would like us.
산지를 미창만 가부책입니다.
Not even with regard to the Buddha. Not even everyone likes the Buddha.
단다 등산에 있는 정말 무슨 팀체 야구지 요하는데 미창만 가부책입니다. 맞아요, 마가와 제가 알게입니다.
So then, with regard to nowadays, so someone as wonderful, as great as His Holiness, and still not everyone likes His Holiness. So therefore, it's not surprising that not everyone likes us.
지선 디나신 마기버 용에 수수 되버도 마팅이 마기버 용거래. 디푸푸들 수수 되버 강가 주고야지. 양 푸들 열어. 되버는 신 참모 주위에서 단다버도 수치를 중요한 말. 단뒤에 용에 요 말다.
So in actuality, there's this desire within us. So there's this desire within us that everything we wish for. So this is out of desire and attachment. So the wish for everything, so within us there's this deep thought that everything we wish for should be accomplished. So there's this deep urge that whatever we wish for should become true, should become a reality. But so far, that has never happened, that all our wishes have been fulfilled. And this will also not happen in the future. So in other words, we can never live up, we can never fulfill our desire.
지단지는 수능 친구였나 다 되든 주변 이거 시부지 요래디 양초 신다지는 시나 산제다 준지선과 그런 대원이 자산 조금이다. 조비에나다 맞아 상황 때문에 탈살 같은 등에 테러 진다 대바지 요러.
So in general, it is said that a person of great merit will have the chance to fulfill their wishes. But even those of the greatest merit, like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, not all of their wishes are fulfilled, because their wish is that all sentient beings be free from suffering, and they have not been able to fulfill that wish. Likewise, for instance, if you were to ask the time you have within one day, is this a long, do you have long time? Is that this period of time, is it long or is it short? What are you going to answer? So it's just different, it's like a different sense with regard to whether one day is long or not. We have a different sense with regard to this length or not. So for instance, when one is not happy, when one has a problem, when one is sick, or when one is waiting for something, at that time, it seems one day is really long. There is a perception of that one day lasts a very long time. Whereas on the other hand, when we're happy, when we do have a lot of work, when there's a lot of work and we have to engage in a lot of work, at that time there's a sense that one day passes very quickly. So therefore, in other words, that the idea here is that it has to do with one's thought, with one's attitude, or with the way of thinking one engages in on a particular day, that therefore, in dependence on that, one day can appear very short, or it can appear very long. So for instance, Geshe-la heard that a person who is in prison, they remarked that one day in prison may feel like an entire year. So the length of time of one day in prison may seem like the length of time of one entire year. But some other people, they have a sense that life is very, very short when they think of death and impermanence. So by way of reflecting on death and impermanence, then the notion that life is very short, that one's life is very short, may arise. So one day therefore becomes very short when one does that kind of meditation. So for a person who meditates on death and impermanence, therefore when something wonderful happens to them, there's a sense it's just a short time. When a problem arises, likewise there's the sense, oh, it's just a short time. So therefore, it's very easy in that sense, like being aware of one's death and impermanence, one is able to balance out that state. There's always a sense whether there are problems or whether there are happiness. It's just a very short, it only lasts for a very short period of time.
ane kange chonsung da semgi nyade ma do ngobe ne sele yomar ka chare da chizi niba penje gi da fene tigiro ni basna niba menche gi di yuchi yongure ni yongure sta samlo na di chere ma do yomar da ngobe ne sele jena tigela na yaga la na to ga la ne kijichi sheda chine kijichi ma de me de soroji.
So likewise with regard to, for instance, anything that has happened in the past, beautiful things like happy moments, unhappy moments that have happened in the past, well, they're gone. They're no longer there. They cease to exist. So anything that happened before 1 p.m. today, Anything that happened previous to that, whatever problem there was, whatever positive situation that, whatever positive event happened, it's all gone. It's no longer there. Likewise, looking at today, from 2 p.m. onwards, so it's almost 2 p.m., so from 2 p.m. onwards, we may think of what is going to come in the future, what is going to happen, what is going to be there. But that hasn't happened yet. It's not yet there. Right now, it's not there. So really, all there is this moment right now. So from the point of view of something positive, something negative, in actuality, the past is gone, the future has not yet arisen, so all there is the moment right now. And that's just very short, that's a very short moment, that moment right now.
재산 단다 니마 먼저 전시 뒤선에 구셔지 코렌트네 라이다 칼레제고라 뛴다지스다 뛴다지를 공생지여다 공생지의 데스고 한다 팀에는 칼레제고라 칼레제들다 니마 시신수 니마 친수 칼레제는 주주다 거지 친수라데 탕치를 셈데 디제디 다디 가차레스라 데스네 셈탕체에 자루
So once there was, before when Geshe-la was in the monastery, when he studied in the monastery, there was a monk who worked very hard. There was one of the monks who worked very hard. And so within 1 week, there was only 1 day of rest that this monk was able to enjoy. And the rest of the time, he worked very hard. And so after 4 or 5 days of working very hard, his mind was very tired. So his mind felt very tired. But when he was thinking that this tiredness of mind, that is past, it's gone, it helped him to overcome the sense of difficulty. Because there was a sense, this tired mind, this exhausted mind, it's all past, it's gone. So basically, Geshe-la said something earlier, sorry, I forgot. He said, so it's actually, those times have gone in the past, it's only our mind is still holding on to them. So the past is gone, but our minds just still hold on to them.
Then, never during when I came to say, what did you go to? Taman and logic chinsu, Loni chinsu, the Semajivachi. When it's in that Chinda, the Richie, the Nayana, that's in the Chinivita, that is Sunju later, logic later. Tama logic chinsu, Larimato, logic high, logic no lone. There is Sunju demonstration, that's some casa neva. You watching what they over, that yet they were watching what they were. She does some male.
So, for instance, those people who are sick, who are quite sick over a long period of time, sick, and so they're quite unhappy considering the time that they're sick. So when we say we're sick for 1 year, actually a year starts on the 1st of January and it finishes on the 31st of December. So 1 year is this long, it's this period of time is this long. But saying today, I'm sick for 1 year, that's actually not true. Because today is now, everything else is past. So I am sick for 1 year, I'm actually sick right now. Whatever happened before, whatever 300, whatever days happened before, they're gone, they're no longer there. So it's really just, I'm sick now, everything else is past.
처음에 와서 나타난 것이 가지고 있어요. 희에게 지시요. 뭐네지나 상당당직지는 되게 생기고 쓰고
So some people say that they don't like to meditate on death and impermanence because it depresses them and makes them unhappy. But actually, if one thinks about death, by considering one's own death, one should actually be very happy. It should give rise to a feeling of happiness, independent on the kind of attitude one adopts.
미지 통동적 상담대 데스 중부적으로 야나면은 상로 코담 시스 상로 과다 얘기로 중부적으로 나오랬다. 되지. 엔티지도 욕도도 싫어하는 되게. 답변은 되게 뭐다. 먼저 있나 뭐 철저적으로 봐. 철저 디지디다 특수킨 되어라. 디바라는 삼지도 바라 기지 측진이 시는 뺏기다. 다 공생각은 니가 기지 기부케다. 그래서 그 디지털 통동도 나오셔나 기부 가르침 중지 제외인데 가르침 중부도 기부도 없어요.
So actually when we think about death and impermanence, we generate a sense that that life is very short. There's a sense of life being short, and that gives the mind some energy. It energizes the mind because it makes the mind happier and it energizes the mind. There's no sense of boredom, understanding that one's life is not very long. For instance, Geshe-la gave an example of this when you were in the monastery. When Geshe-la was studying in the monastery, they spend many hours debating, they spend many hours in the pujas, during the prayer rituals. And during those times, the discipline was quite strict. So they were not allowed to do what they wanted to do. And then sometimes in between, they would run to the bathroom and talk for a few minutes. And that gave you great happiness. Those few moments of being able to chat a little bit made you very happy. Whereas on the other hand, if you had a day off and you could chat the whole day, you didn't feel as happy. So there's a sense when you have only a short time, then there's a sense of like it energizes you, it gives you a sense of happiness, you kind of make use of that time and you don't get bored. So this sense of a short time arises arises from doing meditation on death and impermanence. Did you know the soul there? The Indian sigma, the soul. Soul. That's the Indian sigma, soul. That's it. So some people ask this question with regard to mind and body. So other than mind and body, is there also a soul? S-O-U-L, soul. Is there also a soul? Does that soul exist as separate from the body or from the mind? Does it exist as a separate entity from the mind? And if it does, well, what happens at the time of one's death? So when the mind kind of separates from the body, then the body goes on, the mind goes on, it leaves the body. What happens to the soul?
Soul me na shi tsayi che la namshe khandes mutin negri la sa jara da ki je maro da dile de ke je seu chang da da chen do je sa da soul sene da sene phumole de shimi da si du sene da dis so sam tang sa la le baro phumole de shimi da sa da na bi je tang ni pena da hindu ki da chang je ma de wi na da shiri ki go sene sheba rikpa da tindi seri di ene kasare dagara thare ta phungole tension basidi ta dha khana sheba re chu dus la ore da sheba indi da da sugi phungoni di mo ta de cha ro ta di le di ta ba re ta bi ra shi shiga la mo te ne tu re di la ta chik do
So here with regard to the soul, so basically the question that was asked here is how can the consciousness continue on if there's no soul? If there's no soul, how does it continue on? So this is not really clear here what the person has meant, but basically here when we talk about a soul, so another word we could use here would be the word self. So a self that exists as separate from the aggregate, as a separate entity from the aggregates, from the mind-body complex. So here, this is a matter of a way of thinking here, the kind of way of thinking, the attitude one adopts here. For instance, In the Hindu tradition, you have the followers of the Samkhya school, the Samkhya philosophers, who talk about the self as being a being which is any of the self. So it's like a being which is any of the self, which is kind of the being that is the self. In other words, this refers to consciousness here. Consciousness or a knower or consciousness. So this is the self. According to the Samkhya school, this is the self. The self is consciousness, and it's permanent. And it exists as a separate entity, or it is of a different nature from the body. And since it is the nature of being permanent, since it's something permanent, it continues on after one's death. So whether one says the self is consciousness or not, in any case, so the consciousness continues on after one's death. It continues on. It does not go out of existence. So if not that, if it's not according to the explanation just given, if one were to say with regard to a self that exists as separate from the physical body and separate from consciousness, if that is not there, well, how does one take rebirth? How can one be reborn in this lifetime and continue on to a next lifetime? So this is a different question that may arise with regard to the question of how one takes rebirth.
In tela tene malare sin tabare tabi gone ani yeba tene tabi tende siedi ko tene tabare le labacham labshare se kije di kyangja remido tabi gone yeba ta dile reba la tene malare sunna taba ina ti yeba chadu medo seme chatu medo taba chiba ine ya chi yeba cha chi yeba chadu medo o dire ta kaji Penan Tendi Yungur, Samsana, Markin, to the one year resin, Jojo, this double, Kashi Tumin in Yungur. That two days and current of body yonche, that in you get your yonche, that such a kanaji, a tishi delays in Mother Lavata, in you current assembly and Lola, gain current of in the current of body rating good. That digi, Kurangi, that Samlogi, that Malarebi Gizero, that Lavatici, Roa. The ineti, Koran Turimato, the mother river said no Jiro, Koran no Jiro. The Mahimbachi, Mararangi took to them beside retaining, Malavata on the mother ringidi, the no Jimaro, cheating. In a Zuzuvadona, Kogi Rexi, Kogi came to the one the ring said, Rexed the Dima to Yomari. To them beside the ring and Rexed the Dima to Yomari. Did to the one Yamimba, she to them beside Mareti. Then you got to the tene. Ani resum temper tabare teletene tabade chigare ine teletene taba chigare di chigdin no chudi chigdin no chumari yawa cheto otire
So yesterday, Geshe-la also gave this example, or some days ago he gave that example. So Geshe-la, he took his pen and he touched the thermos next to him and said, "Am I touching myself? Am I touching the eye?" While he was touching the thermos. So in this moment, if I say, Geshe-la, while he touched the thermos with his pen, he said, well, if I were to say, I touch myself, whereas in actuality I touch the thermos, it would be either a lie or I would be wrong, I would be mistaken. And then Geshe-la took the same pen and touched his shoulder. And he said, well, now I touch the eye, now I touch myself. So it is correct. It is correct to say I touch myself. But actually, that which has been touched, so he touched a part on his upper arm, that which was touched is actually, when we really point at it, this part that Geshe-la touched was not Geshe-la. This is not Geshe-la. This is a part other than Geshe-la. And it's merely independence. So independence on this part of Geshe-la, we then impute Geshe-la. So touching this part of his body, we therefore then impute I touched Geshe-la, or Geshe-la touched himself. So here, from the point of view of being designated, of being labeled, when you touch the thermos, you say, you label, I touch Gela. In the case of touching Gela's arm, you say, you label, I touch Gela. So in both cases, there's a dependence on labeling. One depends on labeling to make these different statements. But in one case, it is actually in accordance with reality when Genla touches himself, whereas in the other case, when Genla touches the thermos, saying that he touches himself is not in accordance with reality. And then Genla gave another example. Genla, he has a relative, he has a brother called Geshe Tukden Wangel. So Geshe Tukden Wangel looks very similar to Genla. So they look very similarly. Physically, they look very similar. And so sometimes when a friend of his brother, a friend of Geshe Tukden Wangel, when he meets Geshe Tukden Pesanla or Genla, when he meets Genla, he mistakes Genla for his brother. So you walk up to Genla and says, "Hello, Geshe-la," or he says hello and gives him his hand, says "Tashidele," and touches his hand. He gives him his hand and they shake hands. So in his mind, he thinks that I touch Geshe Tukden Wangel. I touch the older brother of Genla. So in his thought, there's this mind, I'm touching him. So basically, he's not touching, in actuality, the friend of his brother is neither touching Gen Tukden Wangel nor Genla himself, because he's touching a part of the hand that is neither person. It's not Gen Tukden Wangel and it's not Genla himself. But he imputes wrongly, on the basis of this hand, he imputes wrongly Genla or Geshe Tukden Pesanla. And he imputes wrongly on his hand the name of the brother, so Geshe Tukden Wangel. So this is dependent on this imputation. So if you were to really touch his hand, it would also depend on imputation. In both cases, it depends on imputation. But in this case here, in the case of the mistaken identity, in this case it's a wrong imputation, where that which is imputed, so touching Geshe Tukden Wangel, doesn't exist. So likewise, when we say the consciousness continues on to the next life, we say one is continued, one is reborn. One is reborn, one takes birth, or one is reborn. So this is merely imputed. So on the basis of the consciousness that moves on, we say the person has been reborn. So this is not a mistake, this is not wrong, but it exists independent on imputation.
Sabralandi Jagadi, Masabralangato Stirichigor, Chema di Cheche, Dai Tong Gira, Chene, Mazu Tegunkusho Chigi, Intilla, Kambala, the Lebajarta. 셴버제 디스네 쿠쇼샤 가오제 딜샤나 고요레 그래지 같이 가르쳐 디스네 야 사라는 쿠쇼 나 사라를 그랬어 이주샤 다가라래 더 건남시디 박인 남시디 들어와야지 거기 디제 딜레 디도디 다 거기 놓스 수조기 남시디 들어와 차도디 디데도디 수조디 놓네 알지기도 세기 차로 다만저 단다 수부디디 수부디 나마지 말치도 말타기도 야 수부디 제벌로 야 수부 신다지도 들어와 차도디 야 수부디가 가르치네 야 말치기도 미치 세기제디 답이거네 다 유에됐다.
So Geshe-la explained the case of a skin transplant of a man, of a Tibetan who had a skin transplant from the skin of the thigh of an Indian. So an Indian man who had dark skin color. So before the Tibetan monk received this piece of skin, when the Indian man whose skin it was, when he scratched himself, there was a thought, I'm scratching myself upon scratching his skin. But then later on, after the skin transplant, a Tibetan received this piece of skin which is darker than his own skin color, and then it became part of his own leg. It became part of the leg of the Tibetan. So then when he scratched himself, the Tibetan, he was saying, I'm scratching myself. So actually it's the same piece of skin. When it was part of the Indian man, there was a thought, I'm scratching myself, since it's connected to the consciousness of the Indian man. Whereas when it had been attached to the leg of the Tibetan monk, in that case, there was a sense of, this is I'm scratching myself. So now the person associated this piece of skin with himself, and therefore designated, I'm scratching myself, labeling, I'm scratching myself. So this is a matter of consciousness. So associating a certain body, excuse me, associating a certain body with oneself, then one designates I. Whereas if one were to switch bodies, if one were to switch around the body, then that which was earlier on me, and there's a sense of by touching this body, I touch myself, that then changes and it becomes, one then would then label, I touch the other person. So in that sense, it's the consciousness that is associated with a certain body part, and in dependence on that, one then designates I or other, etc.
tuwa tangin di di songu do da namgyu nge chi karsa ko gomnyamlen sia di toni gomnyamlen chingin chi res ane jito gi ne ko so ta ngama na chin chi na mi da ane chue shen la mi ne ngama na chin chwa di chona ni ge tu min do tingsan chona gari gi res na ta chi ngobo daw ina ya so koran gi da daw ina ngara na chin chi karsa do daw chi jesu tu ba nang ga mares ane chi karsa ta twenji new bichane yang chi kalo 직 셀라마셀라도 샤그레스라 아니 파리온 수리움 제바서 소르시 세기레스라 아니 단다 고간디시야디 카르스나 다코 곰 갭단 디기시 단단하신 곰 갭단 디기 무투뉴치 체나 약사르에 야나지 곰 교연단 디기야 또 주었단 거레스 아니 기시다치 디나로나 카르사 깔로나
So here the question, it says Tashi Trundup, it's by Tashi Trundup. So he's saying, I'm practicing meditation on emptiness. So somehow now, many times during the post-meditation, I'm no longer feeling towards people and phenomena and other phenomena as before. Actually, I see all things, including myself, not in solidity, not as solid or substantially existing anymore. Instead, it becomes a blur and very oscillating with regard to its function. So the question is, could you please advise if I should continue with the same meditation or if I should change the meditation?
Tadi namsang lave kale khabore. Rasana Tony lave in tsipichu cheba ine. Tadi susi yando la chayan de mita mambuchi. Ta palen dawa dabe shungla lobjong chi yin sin uma tanju Tony lave ine. Yang di korale yang nasi mita. Ta di chi di zane 다 말에 다 제일 무치 진짜 인슬라네 야 낭셀레 테스트 미다오 용데 겐지기 자는 냠도 비디 쉬어이네 야 테스트 미다오 용데 틸레데 알링에로 코나 토니 곰시에데 카디지 고미에메 사상지 디체마 사바도 남상 기지시에 테스 카보레.
So actually this is difficult to respond to this question because we associate, when we hear the word emptiness, we all associate something slightly different with the word. So there's a different, we all of us individually have a different way in which emptiness appears to us. So for instance, if you say, I follow Chandrakirti, I follow the explanation given by Chandrakirti, his explanation of the Madhyamika Prasangika school, well, there's also very different ways. There are different ways to set forth emptiness, and therefore different ways in which it appears to one's mind. And then if one follows thereafter Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings more specifically, again, there's different ways of emptiness being set forth, and it's difficult to determine how emptiness appears to your mind. So, for instance, every teacher sets forth emptiness slightly differently, and as a result of that, it appears to your mind in a slightly different way. Which is why Gina says, unless he really talk to you in some details about your practice, how exactly you're meditating, what you're meditating on, and so forth, without being very clear about what you're engaging in, what you're exactly doing, what appears to you, it's very difficult to answer this question.
다 개체와디 라신 매바다 매바 라신기 유에바다 유에바 디케버디 약보지 체나 녀르다 고아라버체 엔 고아라데 줘디 양 곰체 곰비토네 인케버 체토버체 녀르 고에토네 체버체 디제로 곰비토네 체버체 토네 다다 체토베도나 지견 요마레 무티네 디고레.
So, in general, what is important here is that it is important to differentiate between existing inherently and existing, and not existing inherently and not existing. So to differentiate, to distinguish between those two. And you should initially try to distinguish between those two through your understanding, independence of the scriptures. So the understanding you generate, you should then see whether you can distinguish between the two of them through your understanding. And thereafter, try to distinguish between them through meditation. And if you're able to distinguish, if you're able through your understanding to distinguish between the two, so inherently existent and existent, etc. And if you're able to distinguish between the two through meditation, then you can continue your meditation.
다 디제르 무치기 체샤레스나 드네 말에 버든 다와르비 슝나도 하장 랑기 세고요레 제르 무치레 마살라 디디 페체 메바다 버레 시다요레 는 고보르트 숭나레 요레 시징이 도다 공을 팅도이나 세고 시다레 디키고 체고야레.
So when we say this is only found in Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, that's not the case, because Chandrakirti made the different presentations of emptiness very clear. It's impossible to actually have it clearer than what Chandrakirti sets forth. And likewise the teachings by Nagarjuna. And also then the Prajnaparamita Sutras. Also, if we're able to really organize those together, like the earlier parts, later parts, then again, on the basis of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, the presentation of emptiness is very clear.
지산다 갈라버려 냠샤기 내가수 아니 제니 미니버 점시 곰네 요 그러시 유메 디리케버시다 기점 수수기 고함 마첼왕 고아 유네 곰비가수 주도 맞제버체 제니 미니버 점지 곰비 토네 제대비 내가수 딘데다 대기 코라 라이디 비지딘디 인시기레 간제 남진 치비지제는 속도 잡아 아니 제만 잡아 아니 어딘데기 나와샤레 디리 용그레스 디 규만다부 쳐수 다 제도 규만다부 돈이 세죠라 돈이 고비 라제를 쳐주 디 대점시 천대 말레스 딘디 숨도
So with regard to here, when talking about the meditative session, that is during the meditative equipoise, if one one understands that phenomena cannot be found upon engaging in searching for them through ultimate analysis, so without actually paying attention to whether phenomena exist inherently, don't exist, etc. So without paying attention to those aspects, so one has an understanding of them in general. But while meditating, one doesn't care about them, one doesn't pay attention to them. Then, just as mere non-findability during the meditative sessions, then when one arrives at meditative equipoise period, during the subsequent period, it is usually describes the words that they use it, that phenomena are kind of like soft, kind of like not solid any longer, like not solid and false. There's a sense of falsity, right? So this is kind of so if at the time when you rise, during the subsequent period, there's just a sense of phenomena being less solid, being fake, this is not really what we mean when during the subsequent appearance, there should be a sense that phenomena appear like an illusion. So this is not correct. If you just have a sense that they're kind of fake, if you just have a sense that they're not as solid as they used to be, this does not mean that you have the proper perception of phenomena being like a magical illusion, which is what should arise, the perception of which you should have during the subsequent period, if you do it properly.
지산타 저한테 고가 원에 대라인데 또베 따바 섬기 토네 외대버지 어디 고하지라고.
So what does it mean to have the authentic perception of phenomena being like a magical illusion? Because the correct perception refers to understanding that phenomena exist by way of being merely designated by a conceptual consciousness. So phenomena exist by way of being merely designated by a conceptual consciousness.
The 남녀치몽기 사동이 간사다메 공단체 딜라 냠샤다 제토미나네 제토 검색하도들 직다다 직전에 세르투레.
So Geshe advises you to look at a specific text here, the Lamim Chemo, the section on special insight. If you look at the particular section that deals with the selflessness of person, which has two subsections again, one deals with the meditative equipoise period, and one deals with the subsequent period. So you should check out the subsequent period and follow the explanation. This will be very clear in this particular section. So this is Geshe here referring to what he said earlier with respect to Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation. So that explanation you'll find in this particular section.
Tadi ini jumlah di kadisung ya resana, taharan tatu dah cibat param kadisana niti nalola, kijing do nalola. 确探界东巴我写教我当时，是吧？你确探界希望我写教我当时，而且第那么张可惜送的，你确探界说的然这个写教我当时，对他对几送的，但第一确进呢，新的东北对的，你然这个来过州的，然这个，就是确进呢说的。 라르고 시디 속다부 시니 순거라 디 아니 라르비 되레스 디 순거라 속데 라르고 시디 시디다 남진 지단진다 민구메 바타고 아니 쩨바타고 팅라해줘라 다디 라발을 라블도 다 제르무치기 디 라디오데 바탈바
라디오.
디마주노 모네 마레스 디 타다파르니 티나 되고도 쏙쏙데 라디오바우스 니 쏙세지다 쏙세지 쏙세는 아주 미주만 되는 수요도 딜 쏙라이로 하는지 베베 아니 쏙세 디로 미주가 수요도 쏙라이로 말이 제센도 소리나 바바나로 짜장지 쏙라이로 아니 쏙세디 쏙쏙 레이디 가래 다시 지고래 같이 쏙 세지도 쏙 세지 니 식데스 메다르 텐다티 지고 컴퓨터에 제사다 쏙쏙데 라디오 소는데 하버드 대기에 라이바 아니 답버선기 가서 답버데 중스 라디오 세데 라레바데 똑바로 라디오를 파시에바이나 델레잡다 답다 제로라쇼
So the Buddha himself actually explained exactly that in one of his sutras, in the Prajnaparamita Sutra of 20,000 verses. So in that he basically says that it is explained that all phenomena are empty. It is explained that all phenomena are empty. It is explained that all phenomena are peaceful. So he cites a few, makes a few statements with regard to all phenomena, and then it says that it is said that all phenomena are fake and not solid, and so forth, which means they're dependent. So here, this is the meaning of there are two words here. So one particular word here means something that is kind of fake. When you kind of make, for instance, like you kind of reproduce an animal, for instance. So that's like, it's actually not an animal, but you reproduce it. So that's like a fake. It looks like an animal, but it isn't. So that kind of fakeness, plus this kind of non-solidity. So those two words are explained here as previously the word not solid, kind of being soft. So those two words are mentioned here. So it says like fake, not solid or soft, and so forth, which is depending or being reliant, existing in reliance. So this is exactly what also Lama Tsongkhapa then, how Lama Tsongkhapa, as Geshe-la mentioned earlier on, Lama Tsongkhapa explained the meaning of fake and not solid, etc., to mean to be dependent on, or to be reliant, to be dependent. So this is not that Lama Tsongkhapa made it up, but it's actually found as a source text. You can look at this particular sutra here. And saying here that phenomena exist in dependence, in reliance here, and then we say they exist in reliance on conceptual consciousness. If we say they depend on conceptual consciousness, then it gives it a very kind of potent meaning. A very potent meaning is being set forth here. So in order to understand, so Geshe-la has teachings that you could listen to with regard to emptiness, and then these are like his personal kind of explanations, his personal opinion being reflected in them, so you could listen to them. So the question here is, well, we say that the karma we've accumulated in a previous life, it affects us in this lifetime. And then likewise, so this is how does it affect us in this lifetime? And likewise, how does the karma accumulated in this lifetime, how is it carried over to a future lifetime?
그게 갈라버다 니마 가시응을라 das 미치기다 독자실라 셈마기버지 더 슈침부 추나 엔 디슈진디 니마 제마 되바 레우다 디슈트 레데도 다디나신 다 체디르 교와마마 샤샤비다 레디 사샤비 니거디 다 세체만 남셰디 다가라 조디 거로 때 레디 레기 니버디 수부간의 샤유나 아니 겨워지면 레기마로 남셰간의 샤유디 겨워지면 못해 내주로.
So, for instance, if some days ago someone abuses us verbally, so they use some abusive word to abuse us, so then as a residue of those negative words, we're still unhappy. So there is a way in which something can happen some time ago, but there's something left over, there's some potency, there's something left over right now. So likewise here, with regard to this residue, there is some kind of force, there's some kind of effect, in the same way as there's this kind of effect in that situation here that influences us. Likewise, if in a previous life we accumulate karma, the volitional action or an action of karma, then there is some kind of potency, some kind of capacity, some potency that is carried over to this particular lifetime. So from a previous life, this potency, that is the result, that is the residue from the karma, that is carried over to this lifetime. And this potency is left on the basis of the consciousness, of the awareness. If it were left on the body, then since mind and body separate at the time of death of the previous life, at that time then the kind of residue, that residue could not be carried over to the next life. But since the consciousness is carried over to the next life, and since the residue, the potency remains with that, we can say it has been carried over to this lifetime.
콘로사 디자네 아니 가사 니시몬고 기체디 냥구도스 레버라
니시몬고
이미 시스템 아니 저보고 디자네 이미 시스템 벨기도 레버라 딜라베디 콘로 뚝사와다 제디 남상 디체라 페 잠샤와다 남상 잠샤 디디 인기마레 지시도 콘로기 슈디 콘로사 아니 안딜 냥부 땡제 아니 상수나 니주 가가라 마산은 그 슈디 하디도 칼리 코티 제디 메고 소용을다 엔 잡아 공부에 되는 신신이 잡아 공부 카드도 허티가를 제디게 잠샤와다 남산 잠치 드리니마 지시도 그 슈디 예버 디시도 패드야지 다 슈디 냠수나 아니 거기 펠레드 잠치기로 디지도 전에 로디 가사비 제스 중에 그 슈디기 아니 베게 수불이야 구조 대무도 단디제도 다가랑 집어지냐지네 베게 세체만 저뒤에 뉴슈디 하디로 생기등도 디제도 에는 컨트롤 긴도 제등이지나 디 뉴슈디 세체만 생기등도 하대 인자 갈리다 수불기 디졸 견당제 니신공고 디졸 지산 내나서 먹고 용대 제바고미 뉴슈디 하대나 디게 갈리라 수불기다 니 단다 니신공고 제도서 펠제 아니 수분 또다 대마다 디요에 디제바 인자 아니 교와디를 잡고거나 아니 체체마 아니 수부 대다 연구레스 디숭에디 디디 용초도 아니 교와디라다 콘도스 잡으체 디제바이나 체데마 제마 아니 대다 연구마레스 데디 디디 슈긴 대다 시초도
So, for instance, when we get angry, it is explained that when we get angry, or that anger leads to a weakening of the immune system, whereas on the other hand, it is explained that generating love and compassion will strengthen the immune system. So here, this is not saying that the moment you have anger, your immune system is being weakened. The moment you have love and compassion, there are substances released that right away your immune system is strengthened. It doesn't happen that fast. There's no immediate kind of reaction, no immediate kind of change there. Rather, when we get angry, it leaves some kind of potency. There's something left. Unless, of course, right away, when we get angry, we apply the antidote and the anger is naturally subsides. That is different. However, we're not applying an antidote. When getting angry, there's something left over. There's some kind of force. There's some kind of potency left over. And that potency slowly affects the chemical substances in our body, the physical substances in our body, and slowly weakens our immune system. Likewise, with regard to love and compassion, generating love and compassion. After the mind of love and compassion is no longer manifestly there, it still leaves some residue there. It leaves some kind of potency there, which then which influences or affects the chemical components in our body, so that our immune system is being strengthened. So this is usually how we should look at this. That this kind of influence, this effect by these different states of mind. It's like first they arise, and then they become non-manifest. They're no longer in our mental continuum, but there's still something left over. There's still some kind of force left over, some potency, some residue there, which then affects the chemical opponents in our physical body, and either strengthens our immune system in the case of love and compassion, or weakens our immune system, as in the case of anger. And so, similarly, we could say that this kind of residue of anger, of like a person, for instance, who's always angry, that this residue, after the anger subsided, every time one gets angry, there's still some residue left, there's some force, some potency left. And not only does it affect us in this lifetime, but it's also carried over to a next lifetime. So the residue of the anger is carried over to a next lifetime, and then it harms us in the sense that our body is not as strong, and we experience a lot of problems, or the person who's had the anger experiences a lot of disease, their body is not very strong, their immune system is weakened. Whereas on the other hand, if you generate in this lifetime love and compassion, then again, after the mind has subsided, there's some potency, some residue left, which is carried over to the next lifetime, and as a result of that, one experiences a healthy kind of body. So this would explain how the presentation from a karmic point of view, if we generate love and compassion in this lifetime, we experience happiness, a strong body, and so forth in a future life. So this would explain this process in the sense that the potency is carried over, and then even in the next life can affect our immune system, our physical body. And then on the opposing side, on the opposite side from the point of view of anger, then likewise, when we talk about anger in this lifetime, can ripen in the form of a weak body. Again, this explanation of the residue, the potency being carried over to the next lifetime and affecting the body in a negative way.
That the kisingone imbayina, that middle condosa, and dine sim that in its samshaje, that's a nanglatona, that condo the katsaro, Levashindaji Samushina Quartaro, in a desimgi Choshichi Mindo, Submotuna, the condosa, Zamusomotuna, that could leo mutin chede.
So if that is really the case, the way Geshe-la just explained it, if that is true, then if upon someone doing something wrong, another person doing something wrong, we get angry, at some point then the anger subsides, it's gone, and we leave and go home. But if there's still some residue left, if we do not eliminate that residue that is left, the anger will continue doing its thing. There's this potency that was left by the anger, and that will continue to function, and it will continue to affect us. So therefore we need to be careful about eliminating not just the anger, but also that leftover potency.
The Shivsabo Gejishewa, the Kondo di Kadro di Kondo Nubadi, and sim Kadiji thing to lie. Koran the Dunya be sim Shibaju Yorbe, Kadiji, that Shivsabo Gejishewa, and Yotamo Sheje, that Tanjuachina, and Shiba. Kondo di Kadro di Kondo Shibachi says the drawing word. Shiba dating to anybody yours.
So then when we go even deeper, if we engage in a more detailed examination on these ideas, on these concepts, well, when we say after the anger has subsided, so the anger is no longer manifestly present in our continuum, but there's still some potency left. The next question that would arise would be, well, where is it left? On the basis of which mind, on the basis of which consciousness is this residue, this potency left here? So what is that type of awareness? Now, is it an awareness that arises together with the anger, that just continues on and then is based on that? So from the point of view of, for instance, the Madhyamika Prasangika school, they talk about the anger degenerating. In other words, the anger discontinuing. So the anger having disintegrated, no longer being there, there's just the disintegratedness, that discontinuation of the anger. That, on the basis of that discontinuation, on the basis of that disintegration, then this residue is left. So the continuum of the disintegration, that is of the discontinuation of the anger. That continuum is the basis for the potency of the anger.
Condition the personal landed and conditions that you get to a tangan di Nima Kashing and a busin tangu yora, busin tangu digi, and a busin tomdagi, Krenetsan tart or shora, till a jardine chera, jardine and a sola nenka choinza, the konin jene and busin tangu di two number. Nene, that you busin tangu de leta ko Satata de Inaya, Chisu Yankia Samtana. 아니 다 초칭데 장부 데라치 쪼버레 데이나야 판다치 부심 돔다 디기양 코칼라 마라야 디긴 신이야 dob시 태양인가요 아니 초칭라 돔다 디라 부구여나 양콜라 카세다 칼라 도 데고나야 부구데라 강게팅 손자다 코란 꾸룽 쪼디다 장부라 로바치야 질라치 부시 셴바다 돔다 데라 뇌게야기 꾸눈다 자와네요 마레 이나야 무베 네츠치라 부치라치 뱀베 차와도 치야 이나야 부신 질레야 너무 차와체야레스 다디 틱베디 코네라 아니 주원문에 가르스나 아니 남근 질라베나 미니 다보시나다 셈진니나다 미니 파라시라 네츠도 추나 녀토도 추나 다디 돈에 간데스타치 도그레다 칼로다 직소소 로바 체마 체스나 디야가 도에다 로바 다 체마 체디 간데스타치 기레스 야나 다 로바 마체네 남메샤나 야가 도에 간데시나.
So here someone asked a question about the law of karma. So some time ago, I've seen a fly trapped into a spider net, and the spider was approaching. I liberated the fly just in time. But after some time, after some reasoning upon what happened, I was not sure anymore to have done a good action. What if it was a starving spider? Or a mom spider, a mother spider, that had to nourish little spiders? Of course, I didn't have the motivation to harm the spider, but to help the fly instead. But my action was anyway harming the spider. So the question is, how should one evaluate if to intervene when witnessing two other sentient beings, two other people having an interaction? Should one better not intervene at all? Thanks. So at some point Geshe-la was in the same situation where he saved a little insect from being trapped in a spider net. And he had the same concern. Was he actually harming the spider by protecting the food, basically, the potential food?
니기다 미신다지 마랑기 체도 다르와 마랑기 소체베 체도 신다지 세가 주디 야 미식 춘네 게버이나 딩이나 가리다 봤어 진짜 찍디 소체베디 인데 인세지 다 얘기 마랑기 체도 다 미세가 줘야지 벌써 제버이나 다 렌데기 니지 하모거나 지리마도 렌데 한 니지 하고는 되게도 삼트에서로 하고서 다 같이 얘를 들려도 되기도 같이 소개되기 부정만 되라 체들을 잡으셔. 동달들을 체치만 잡으셔. 그디고 사이 같이 쇠래. 진짜 내주디 기승에 가면 중간이나 가르쳐서서나 소개되기 되기도 야고도. 기승에기 미두자 제가 가는 같이 중간이나 뒤에 야고도. 뭐변에서라 말한다 컨트사이로 얘들다 주주마서 이내 뭐변에서라 뒤에 야고도 사면이 잡으시다.
So Geshe-la gave here the example Well, say for instance, someone saves my life in this lifetime. Someone threatens my life, and this person saves me. That's very good. That's something good. Or if someone, for instance, saves me from killing someone. Actually, that is also something good. So if I were to plan to kill someone and they were to stop me from killing that person, that would also be something good. That would also benefit me. So then Geshe-la went back to the original example. So by protecting the spider, you help the spider in this lifetime. So taking that as the example. Whereas by doing that, not only did you help the fly, excuse me, I said spider. So in the case of saving the fly, you help the fly in this lifetime. But you also help the spider, not in this lifetime, but from the point of view of future lifetimes. So you help the spider from the point of view of future lifetimes. So the example previously, you help someone who is about to kill someone, and you kill them in turn, you save them from the point of view of a future lifetime. Whereas from the point of view of being saved, you help this person in this lifetime. So if someone else were to come to kill you, and you save the person who's potentially the victim of murder, then you help this person in this lifetime. But if you kill the other person who could become a potential murderer, if you kill them, you're actually helping them in a future lifetime. So applying this to the two insects here, the fly is being benefited in this lifetime, and if the spider dies as a result of the fly being saved, you help the spider in a future lifetime.
저기 베베기 나로를 숨어 지에드네 루스드네 더 담 미망부지 tinje다네 아니가라 총남도 줘야지 다들 망부지 거라 그 쇼지 가르티지서 숨어서 줘지 기신 얘기 미망 볼네 얘기가제 로 tinjigi cheshi ting 다 니가 tin지가는 요나 숨어치랑 원에 있는 것이요.
So in Tibetan society, a lot of people, they make offerings to what are called kind of protectors. They're called protectors, protecting deities or protectors. And they make offerings, they do these kind of rituals, kind of making offerings, doing some kind of ritual called jinchu. So at that time, what you do, oftentimes you approach the protector, make an offering and ask for your business to be successful and so forth. So in one case, what happened was there was one monk. He made a prayer to a protector deity, making offerings, and made a prayer. And he prayed, if you become aware that in the future I'm planning to harm a lot of other beings, then you need to kill me. Please kill me. So if you ever become aware of me planning to harm a lot of sentient beings, please kill me. So that was his request to the deity.
That teaches it and military in a chihuahua, and the Shishun Tajura. That is any Karicheva in a Pendichiana, and Daniel Shaheba, that have you.
So this is with regard to human beings, this is similar, except there may be a difference from the point of view of benefit. So with regard to the benefit being the self, being the same as like benefit and harm kind of being equal in one case, then one should just leave it. So if it's equal, one should just leave it.
지단 맛이 딘지 여러 왔단다. 오늘 전주 셈버지기 미 자타 몽부지. 더 납자 여르데 납자시에 먹지 있어요. 잡아다다기지 있어 말. 가진 납자 총바마게 잡아야 된다라 총바지 세서. 대디니 수들라 따당데 미망한 체제나 다 납자 잡아야 된다로 코세 콜네 제레 콘솔을 페바 줘버려. 대리 따당지 여러. 오늘 제나 콜 콘솔을 페바시를 줘요 말. 소좀 잡아. 콩 손에 잡아. So
there's the story of the Buddha in the previous life as a bodhisattva. So the story of hundreds of merchants. So Geshe-la says it says usually 500, but the word 500 here can be misleading. It doesn't literally mean 500. It means just a lot of hundreds of merchants. So anyway, here the story goes that there was one person who intended to kill all the other merchants. And the Bodhisattva at that time was aware of the intention, but for this person not to kill the other merchants, he killed the potential killer. And a lot of people understand this story to mean that the Bodhisattva, he benefited, he protected these other people who will potentially would have died, and he sacrificed this one merchant. But this is a misunderstanding. So the compassion of the Bodhisattva was directed not mainly at those merchants that would potentially die, because their trouble was actually minor. They would just have lost this life, and that would have been the only problem. But his main compassion was directed at the potential killer, because he was potentially creating a lot of suffering for himself. And in order for that person to not experience that suffering, he therefore killed this person. So actually the Bodhisattva was much more compassionate. His compassion was much greater with regard to the potential killer, as compared to the potential, compared to the compassion directed at as the potential victims.
니만 가시게나 아니 예시라 되시게야리 가르스나 지 짐바도야레 아니 지 롱치 두리야데다 아니 대참도 마세양치 미꾸마치기 소소수 잘라지 꾸꾸마 꾸미지 중앙이나 그 소소는 원리시나 펜도시오요 펜도 가시니 요르스나 나를 사셈벨레 디기 파 조드야 임바인 산타 소소 원리시나 펜도요르스 다 델라문에 이칭이지 요노 라다딜라 이치 직체와이나 초치글이야 파기 미디 잘라지라 꾸마꾸나야 사마르 비셴바기 꿀 잘라데서 꾸마꾸나 아니 파주미기 랭엠바데서 지 조도 그레스 디 차네야 짐바다야게 삽치에는 미 잘라 꾸마꾸나야 민도에
If we really believe that by giving we will achieve something better, we will achieve resources, and by being stealed, by being robbed, we will exhaust some previous bad karma. And wouldn't it be better to be of benefit to others? If we really want to benefit, if we want to be benefit junkies, wouldn't it be better to try to benefit others by stealing their wealth instead of practicing generosity? So he's saying that if we steal others' things, if it exhausts our negative karma when someone steals our things, if that benefits us, by benefiting, benefit others, shouldn't we steal their things? Because then their negative karma is being exhausted.
다디라 우비네 당기 토네 기제 시에지 수수 삼로 당당기 토네 기제 시에지 니고레 삼로 당당기 토네 기제 시에바이나 예라 아니 베나타 기제 디기 토네 기제 시에바이나 미치는 여다 당샤나 코티고 조르와 니다 당고르 베스 다 디고디 지고 차르고 다 디고디 아니 파땅로와 딘디나 아니 마츠 동나 디고 차르다 나라 동고르 베 디고 레기면도나 셈술로 균지요레 다 디고 당보르 딜레 마르마르 동나 나라 디고 다루르 와스 디고 디엘레 디체라 디나신 셴레 동나 셴 디고 다루르라나 디고 레탄디 께마레 다 모연이지 이마이디 슈르타 주세.
So there are two ways to consider this question. One way to consider this is from the point of view of reality, from the point of view of how phenomena exist, or from the point of view of reality. Another way to consider this is from the point of view of attitude. So when considering first the aspect of attitude here, so if we come to think, if we bully someone, if we beat someone up, as a result of that, then his or her karma will be exhausted, then we should check whether we have a sense, I should be beaten up. Because if someone beats me up, then all my karma will be exhausted. So if one has the strong understanding that, oh, I should be beaten up, it's better if I get beaten up, because then my karma is exhausted, then that's one way of thinking of it. But if one were to think, I shouldn't be bullied, it just shouldn't happen to me. If there's a sense this shouldn't happen to me, then there's a problem. So, in other words, if one has a sense, this just happened to me, this kind of situation, then if I'm being bullied, if I'm being beaten up, my negative karma is exhausted, and then one thinks, oh, this should also happen to others, because then their negative karma is exhausted. This is acceptable from the point of view of just attitude. That would be something to be acceptable. But if there's only a sense others should be beaten up in order to exhaust their karma, then this shouldn't happen to me, then there's a problem.
다원나 소설 두고 다음에 세로 돌아왔다. 주공문에 딜레바이나 아니 디 성취디 키제 답다 제부바 다네 릭지어바 군주기 성취디 디요레 제타 디기 레 조당데 디로다 베네첼라 디 베제탄 디타 베르리디 조르고로 디가 세시디 세단디 디로 진짜 두고 쉬우시 당샤네 다 그도 그도 쉬우시 제샤나 저왕마 사비 디고데 사마 다로 그랬어 다 친지 디고춘에 맞은 데바이나 디고사와 사요 말이스 제산다 코란주에 레베 tarbalagata ane tabato rules tawa dikini ane dubutangur.
So from the point of view of thinking, well then I may be killed, well here there's a kind of attitude here, there's a specific attitude that you can find, or a specific kind of view that is found in the followers of the Jain system of Indian philosophy. So the Jains, they have the idea, they follow the idea that one's karma is exhausted. In other words, there's a limit to one's karma. So the limit to one's negative karma in particular, it's like a battery. If you utilize it long enough, the battery finishes. So likewise, if one engages in a lot of hardships, negative karma will be exhausted. And at some point, when all their negative karma is exhausted, one will then attain liberation. So it's like seen as the negative karma, by engaging in all these hardships, ascetic practices, there's a sense that all the negative karma will be gone, and once it's gone, that is liberation.
다 건조기 녀와 켈린 거래 남백이 녀와 켈린 거래 되게 문에 있는데 녀와를 제는 다와다 보세요 이번 가면 상다 데드가도 대체에 있다나 녀와한테 데리게 다 오고 아니 디고 사원에 사이고 말로 앞에 두미 거래기 봐
So therefore they also accept the hell realm, they also accept the hell realm. So basically, if one exhausts all this karma, well then there's no more karma left for the hell realm, so of course one should attain liberation. So if we were really to exhaust all the karma of all the negative karma associated with the hell realm and so forth, yeah, then in the end there should actually be, logically, there should be liberation.
제가 수수수 두고 다네 디고 세기 답시 제라는 디 답시 디한다 말레스 요 통함에 관한 사실이 디고 뭐 보여래 디엔 것도 때지 제네 미시 통도 디나로라 동에 때지 묘제 디고 디 상마 다스나 디라투 말레스.
So actually by inflicting kind of harm on oneself, by engaging in ascetic kind of practices or kind of difficult kind of practices, will to hope that one will be able to exhaust all one's karma, that is not realistic, because karma has been accumulated since beginningless time. So by just engaging in some difficult practices that exhaust some of the karma in this lifetime, it is impossible to exhaust all this karma that has been accumulated since beginningless time. That's just not possible.
처진의 디버 탐지세도 말에 처진의 유머 속에 샤샤도 다다 저거 저야 유머 제고 남산남산 사도 그래. 지금 유머는 님부 된 거를 마도 유머는 님부 마대 뭐제 디버 답이 인생
So on one hand, it's therefore impossible to purify, that is, overcome or purify all the non-virtuous karma, and on the other hand, that which is responsible for the accumulation of negative karma is the afflictions. And so while purifying the negative karma or overcoming the negative karma, the afflictions create new karma. They continue to afflict to create new karma. So one again and again accumulates new negative karma. So therefore, one should apply the antidotes to the afflictions. One should apply antidotes to the afflictions instead of hoping to just purify the negative karma, which is impossible. So this is the way to go about it. To not just engage in some kind of hard practices in order to overcome karma, but basically it's important to apply the necessary antidotes to the afflictions.
다 공화 겨울은 겨울이나 공화 원에도 근데 겨울에서나 자주 심바다 문시 유딩 디지 가시 딘디 요래 겨왕아마 취기 바자 요바체 번주 첨부 차 세디라 따라 너 고코르 되지 아니 취기니 맞제 맞제 다 기시 퀴 번주디 매워 쇠샤와이나 그 겨왕아마 바자디 베 취지니 베 심지 마볼레 펜토에 코란다 시부지 펜토 용투에 딘디 니지 켄온디 아니 잡고 잡고 꾸마 잡고 좀 심바
So from the point of view of stealing other people's goods or other people's wealth, well, in the case of a bodhisattva, for instance, who has clairvoyance, they may be able to perceive a particular person who has very strong dharmic imprints. They have very strong imprints to effectively practice the dharma. But because in this lifetime they have so much wealth, they have so many possessions, that they're totally distracted and their mind is not interested in dharma practice. So in that case, understanding that, it would be permissible for that bodhisattva, not just permissible, it would be necessary, it would be required of that bodhisattva to steal the wealth, to rob the wealth of that person, so that once the wealth is gone, they're no longer distracted and are now able to effectively engage in dharma practice by way of their imprints ripening. So being aware that they have these imprints. So through taking away their possessions, these imprints can ripen and they are able to engage in effective dharma practice. So this is the duty of a bodhisattva if such situation occurs, to disown the person who has all this wealth, to rob them of their wealth.
제가 당긴디기 지 남균 질라베나 지 돈이 곰디 점발라 지 따둔 세네 지 마녀와라 곰균디 따둔 세네 마녀와라 곰균디 점발라 아니 참자라 깡게 갈 테겠으나 초실라다 지 따둔 세네 마녀와디 semla 샤그레 인데 데다 냠도야 딘데기 곰균긴기 곰갸긴기 다 쪼곰갸긴기 미디야 디 따디야 라싱게 두바난 그래 지 참참직 두스 제네 지 삼도던데 삼발래야 지 칼로 소소 꼬레기 하다 지 키지기 소소 나마지 지수 태야지 제테 따야 소리지 좋아시 레기데스 카르스나 초직네 그 소소 따라신게 두바 넘바 샤그레네 초직네야 다스나 곰경이 되래야 따라신게 두바 남그레스라 다 근신 디체네 디체네 단다 디기 지 칼로다 초치는 딜라 참랑 카레여다 딜라 남바 마샤야라 다시 달레 디 장신기 투바다 곰경인디 다 장신기 투바 마나야라 탑시 카레여스 아니 데단냠도야 아니 곰경인기 다 타뉴도베 다시여라 타뉴도여가 또베다섬기 다시여라야 장신기 투바 다시여라 어디기 여와디기 양케치 카타 양케츠나 당님마시는 나니 놓긴다 지 제시시 세부시무 겸으로 이네 단다 세부마 차와 인상 양케시기 디기 여와치 칼로타 세시나. So this question here is with regard to the person meditating on emptiness, so engaging in the practice of looking for the self, looking for the object of negation. So while looking for the object of negation, he's not able to find the object of negation, and that non-findability appearing to the mind. But at the same time, what appears to the mind is the I that meditates appears to exist inherently. So this is one difficulty he faces, and he's saying how can he overcome that difficulty, that although he understands the lack of inherent existence of the I, at the same time there's a sense that the I that meditates exists inherently. And then moreover, could Geshe-la please explain again, so it's again because Geshe-la already explained this last year, but it's not clear yet to this person, that the difference between the conventionally existent person that meditates and the inherently existent person that meditates. So what is the difference between the two?
他知道说老师之前已经对于分别心的假意分别心的安静这些已经解释得相当清楚，可是这部分他觉得还是他在关心的时候还是觉得没有说很了解，所以希望老师再多解释。
但第可是我的这个你只用说过的，这个写了个错呢，这个定睛错呢，写了个错呢，可能的我这呢，你给这写个多，我这呢，你明年比看到了样，可是那我的，讲第给这写的在呢，写了个错呢，给这写用的第的写的用到明年对不对？因为拍照的钱呢用过，就是人心里面都是。就是这呢，你个门头来对样的两年级，他哈那么多个大把的来对你个上把上来，是对身边我的那人性预备说的不起，像我的人性预备嘛的多个大的是，大概多个的人性预备说的不起，但顶这个甚至用的了的，或者接下来，或者就是人性没事，我让给大把上，我的人性预备差不多，像我可能人性没事。多别大把上，那多把的有的是多把回来的心没事，可是这天我给听到了公众给说上，一些名字一样没事，他们的了，我第一个做当第一团的，把给写了。
So actually, with regard to this question here, so we should consider the wisdom side here and the concentration side here. So there are two aspects with regard to how to consider this question. So from the point of view of the wisdom side, from the wisdom aspect point of view, so when you investigate the I, when you search for the I, and you reach the point of non-findability, so actually it should not be the case that you actually work upon not finding the inherently existent I, so the lack of inherently existent I, that appearing to you, it should actually not happen that the I then appears to you existing inherently. Rather, if you were to take another object other than the I, such as the table for instance, if you were to analyze the table, if you were to engage in that kind of ultimate analysis, and you reach the point of non-findability, then since the object on the basis of which you understand the lack of inherent existence is the table, then the mind that perceives such, or the person that perceives such, that could appear as inherently existent. Because here the object is a different one. In one case it's the object is the table, but then the person who's meditating, that appears to exist inherently. Right? Or in another case, if you meditate on the I, on the non-findability of the I, you come to the conclusion that the I is non-findable. But if it's merely imputed by a conceptual consciousness, then the conceptual consciousness could appear to exist inherently. So you understand the lack of inherent existence of the I, but understand that it's merely imputed, so therefore there's a sense that the conceptual consciousness exists inherently. So what do you do in those two cases? In the first case, if you understand the lack of inherent existence of the table, and then there's a sense that the mind that understands, that the I that understands that exists inherently, well, you just apply the same kind of reasoning that you applied with regard to the table, now you apply that with regard to the I. In the case of understanding the lack of inherent existence of the I, and then having the sense that the conceptual consciousness which imputes the I, that exists inherently, now then you apply the same reasoning that you previously applied to the I, now to the conceptual consciousness. So actually upon understanding the emptiness of the self, in other words, you understand the non-findability of the self, then there shouldn't be a self appearing to you that exists inherently. That shouldn't be happening here. And so in the previous case, it's, yeah, but, okay, that's such a continuation. Does that make sense?
다 기지 담배 내가수 다 동상체 이내 기지 니버 수배 내가수 다양의 공기 섬들이 레바 이나로 제자다 섬들이 리디 다 레마주니 가주다 지단에 돈이 공지 전에 다고 펜바지 단계로 돈이 먹으면 게 돈이 공부해서 materi마도 무지가수 사고만 다시 사고만 있는 수수 디제 아니 사디제 여러 디나시지네 니 디돈이래 디데버메 발라서 디래 디제네 미녀버시에 디레세야 다와다 니 돈이 공기 디리테나 돈이 공부 체 tsendere go ba.
So with regard to meditating on emptiness, so there should be a sense of just emptiness. In that moment of mere emptiness, when you meditate on mere emptiness, there should not be a sense of anything else, like an I appearing. So if that happens, you need to overcome that. You need to stop that. You need to make an effort to just focus on emptiness. So the lack of inherent existence of the I. Do not allow that sense of an I to arise. Just keep focus on it. And while you're meditating, so that's like kind of like after you kind of meditate, to allow this just to kind of sneak in. You shouldn't allow that. And on top of that, actually when you meditate, you determine, you kind of set the mind with regard to how now you're going to meditate. There's a kind of like a motivational setting of the mind. I'm now going to meditate for such and such period of time. And if this meditation on emptiness, if you then engage in the meditation on emptiness, this is not like meditating on a meditational deity, where you are over here, the meditational deity is in the space in front of you, the sense of I here and the object over there. So therefore, when you meditate on emptiness, it's like you shouldn't really be thinking, this is emptiness, this is lack of true existence, this is the, you shouldn't be basically, there's a sense that this is me kind of doing so. If that arises, this is not a proper way of meditating on emptiness. This is this, this is that. You shouldn't have that sense of like identifying it in that way, and certainly not a sense of like me doing so. This is not a proper way to meditate.
The dindinitsu di sheni, shingi le, korama mebajim, di komyon di, ni komguyo, di doni re, di leona, da di re, here bikizamare, dingi zingi kyore, dingi zing neche yabo maybe, da di kyon la di war.
So if it happens that while you're meditating on emptiness, that without any control, without having any control, there's a sense of I'm meditating, a sense of I'm meditating, and this is emptiness, and this is the lack of inherent existence. When those thoughts arise, that is an issue of lack of concentration. There's not enough concentration. In other words, from the point of view of the aspect of stability, being able to let the mind remain on its object, well, that aspect of stability, of abidance, of remaining on the object is lacking.
Kashila Sanje, and a shooting, Kijunjin shooting is you come to Segochi Community, and Timo Chapter, so Yalan, Tosha, so this is a thing it did.
Some people who meditate, for instance, as the Buddha in front of themselves, because of their lack of concentration, sometimes it may happen that the Buddha turns blue, or the Buddha gets up and leaves. So this is a matter of the lack of concentration.
Tizata Koma Jabaya, Tassim Shida Dimato, Kankumji, Migo Dimato, Shida the same Mayan purchase, Pembata, Takaran, Kumti Tuzi Tunuja, Takaran, Nendeche, Tati, Shida Shermachu, or Tindin and Dejana, Kalikali Aria Jura. Kateta, Kirikuni Regiment, Nega Migo Purdy, that thing is it is Jamu Chigre, Tony Kante, and the Nega Shaje, Igo Shadaji Kant, the thing is it is Jam. The thing is it is Lena Kappa, Jarshana.
So actually when you meditate on emptiness, what you should do is kind of like set your mind in the direction of what you're going to do. So you're only going to meditate on emptiness. Your object of meditation should be determined ahead, and you should set your mind. You can have set this motivational kind of setting, like as in like I'm going to meditate only on emptiness now. So you kind of set your mind on the kind of meditation without allowing it to go and be disturbed or be distracted by other objects of meditation. So this is important, that you kind of are determined with regard to what you're going to do. If you're unable to do this, and you should do this only for a short period of time, it's also essential to, after you're setting your mind, after having generated that determination with regard to what you're going to meditate on, after that you shouldn't engage in long periods of meditation, but short periods of meditation. And if then it's still difficult for you to hold the object, you still are distracted in the way described earlier, you should then leave meditation for the time being and engage in the practice of concentration.
train your mind in the practice of calm abiding or in the practice of concentration to such a degree that at some point you feel confident enough that you won't be distracted, you have enough concentration, and then it's acceptable or permissible to go back to the original object of emptiness.
다 딜레다 야 칼라오레 니 도스키지 셰발레 nga labde sejura namshe jundu ne nga zugi samdesa nga khorang tadang niwa labe layo zene tani rishi itana anyi jume dingi ko mewa yindingi mata majibi nga ne entaba yina ko yuba yindingi chizanda mata majibi lo la tuyana yuba yindingi ane zewe rishi la tuyana la namido rangi ngwene kandi yin dii toni taba yina mewa yindingi o dilana piti
So with regard to differentiating between the conventionally or merely imputed I as opposed to the inherently existent I, so Geshe-la said that when we say I, when we talk about I, we say I, we think I. So then if we start analyzing, if we engage in analytic, like ultimate analysis with regard to what is that particular I, upon searching for that, we will not be able to find it. So that non-findability here, if you were to find something here, that would be the inherently existent I. But you end up not finding it, so you're negating the inherently existent I. But then with regard to the merely imputed I, that is the I at the time when you do not engage in investigation or analysis. So without investigating, without analyzing, that I that appears to you, that is the conventionally existent I. So therefore, this is what appears to the mind when you refrain from any ultimate analysis or investigation. Whereas if you engage in reasoning, or if you engage in looking for an I that exists in and of itself, as in like from the side of the object, you're able from within the I, you find something that is the essence of the I. If you find that kind of I, that is the inherently existent I. So the one that merely appears without investigating, that's the conventional. ngenjungi sambalan jene ko kandishiyo kharisna ane ngenjungi sambake wala ta nomgyu chine nganzo dawmun di chi me di so chi mi di do ta so su ne yang di dawmun di mai bache so nyumon di khorangi so nyumon di so dawmun ni ma samtang bores ta dindi indi sambalaya pena namgyu chila so nyumon de la ya chi khondo dawasana chi shedan dawashkena di does 다 디시 칼로 뉴몬디 슈충도 다야래 지 콘도 뉴몬라 미니야 콘도 게나 디르베스 다 초치나 콜라 삼타나 디양치 도스 네 소리도 카이나 뉴몬 뽕메 체도 시랑 뽕메 체도 소소 촌냠렌 체기랑 인중기 삼바기 그래서니 단다 두스 체나다 뉴몬라 지 콘도 도시랑 와이나 뉴몬디 슈치로 두고 말레스 양초 초셀라 삼타나야 뉴몬라 카라 콘도 사야 문이 여러베 뉴몬라 시당게 여러베 디지 뉴몬라 미네가 메가벨로 다오 말레스. So the other question here is in the context of developing renunciation, we're advised to see our afflictions as the enemy, not the external person who harms us. So is it therefore appropriate to have anger and aversion towards our own afflictions in order to generate renunciation? But on the other hand, isn't there a problem having anger and anger with regard to our afflictions because we're trying to stop our renunciation? So, and on the other hand, also, is this really anger? Is this really anger when it takes as its object the affliction, or can it be merely defined as a feeling of dislike?
tatila duchane ngela ani kondo gi tanye chuksa di hago bro bejana la kondo bangjare se kunjin bangjare sunye di pege simjela kondo che simjela ani kunjin che de bangje yusun go ro namji kondo da yongdagi kondo kunjin sim da jersa di dijil jaro.
So initially, it's important to understand what do we mean with anger? What do we mean with resentment? So what does that word actually refer to? What is the meaning of anger, of resentment?
So usually what you find in the scriptures with regard to anger, which is an object of elimination, an object that needs to be abandoned. So the explanation that is given with regard to anger or resentment is anger that focuses on sentient beings. So anger that focuses on sentient beings, or resentment that focuses on sentient beings. This is how it is usually explained. So this is, from the point of view of renown, this is how it is explained, or this is how the term anger or the term resentment is explained. So when we take, for instance, the 10 non-virtues, of the 10 non-virtues, you have 3 non-virtues that are associated, that are mental non-virtues. So one is covetousness, one is covetousness, one is harmful intent, and the last is wrong view. So with regard to harmful intent in this context here means harmful intent directed at sentient beings. So wanting to harm or wishing to harm sentient beings. It is explained in the context of sentient beings. So likewise, when we talk about cherishing others, here again, when we say cherishing others, we mean other sentient beings. So to cherish other sentient beings, to benefit other sentient beings. So it's directed at sentient beings. So when, on the other hand, there's like a mind that wishes to harm one's afflictions, well, we wouldn't call that negative. We wouldn't say that this is something negative, but rather we would say this is a virtuous awareness. So a harmful intent directed at the afflictions is virtuous.
어쨌든 진주력이 다와제 이는 거라디 양답이 다와 인테니 다디 다와도 공패도 다야 된다라 리뷰 주제선은 땅곰 지기로 다디 다와들 페미셈으로 유 디펜센디 교와 말아 그 다와들 펜도에기 다 지고로 다 그.
So for instance, when we have an erroneous view, a view that is directly opposed to reality, that is a wrong kind of view. So in order to increase that wrong view, it is possible to actually engage in wrong reasons, mistaken reasonings, and we can increase that wrong view. So that is, if we want to do this, this is an attitude that wishes to benefit others. I mean others in the sense of an other wrong view. You wish to benefit another wrong, other wrong view. But it's actually not the attitude that wishes to benefit others in the context here, in the context of here wishing to benefit sentient beings. So you're actually benefiting something. You're increasing a wrong view. You're enhancing a wrong view. So you're benefiting something other than yourself. But this is not what is meant with the attitude wishing to benefit others. So resentment here, when we talk about resentment, that is directed at the afflictions, so there's a wish to harm them, there is a wish that one doesn't want to be around them, one is resentful towards them. So here, that is actually a type of resentment. One wants to be separated from them, one doesn't want to be near them. That's what we call resentment. So it's actual resentment directed at the afflictions, directed at the mental afflictions.
미지를 컸대. 디 제워선 디 컨트롤라요. 디 생시도 주고도. 다 그런 게 묘모데 매버 소고선 디 컨진디 제로디 생시도 주고미도.
So this does not disturb our peace of mind, our happiness and peace of mind, if it's directed at the afflictions. Whereas with regard to another person, oh, I don't want to harm this person, I'm angry with this person. If it's directed, if our anger is directed at another person, it disturbs our peace of mind and our happiness. But on the contrary, or with regard to the affliction, it doesn't disturb that peace of mind.
다 딘디게 좀 많이 버체 ane kamugagi namdo tsangma pango res. Tindi samlo kowa ina tita tawa chuk chujore, tawa chuk diware.
If on the other hand one wants to overcome any kind of conceptual mind, and one is kind of one directs one's harmful intent towards that, well, that's a mistake. Wanting to overcome any kind of conceptual thought.
如果有正常的话，这个想法是错的。
이 컨디션이 좋아 가지나 당연히 류디 시차가 제대로 류디 지컬다 류단 셈니 카테차가 제대로 셈데라 개와 신지라다 류 신지라 개와 말레뱅아로도 가르치 꼭 가왔네.
So once I read again. So once one's body has died, where's the mind prior to reincarnation in a different body?
지단 상상의 양은저 저번째 드니지 용대 샘디 가어저래 가어요레스 인규칸의 샘 라바지다 푸기디 야 수젠지 모실라 샤비탄 샘디 디네죠 샘디 바저 대단하다 그 수젠 모비기지다 봐.
So sometimes when we debate, there's this question that may arise, like there may be this question that arises with regard to where is my consciousness, where did it go, where is it going from here, where is it going from there. So there's a sense that the consciousness is something physical. It is something physical that is actually goes here, it goes there. So the sense of some physical entity that can be kind of followed around.
다 지단 쉐바이나 아니 시차위체라 ane lutamuch to Buddhist, Kiji the Shibora, Bartosin, Namsha the Shire, lutamuch to Dila Ombanga Yudingi, Tapagi, Legi Tutusinita, Zibana Duzulaya, Totum in the Jodingi, that the Digi and a lutamuch shiver.
So in general, we say after a person has died, after they've passed away, then a subtle body manifests. It's called the pardo body or the intermediate state body. So that body actually has all the five senses. It has all the senses, complete senses, plus through the force of karma. It's through karma that they have magical or kind of supernatural powers such that they can move through a wall, for instance. They're not obstructed by core solid objects, but they can move through walls. So this is this intermediate state being that one is when one abides in after one has died.
The Joama Salbush attending Kashila, Portuinedan Chingin the Yugudu.
So some people who have a very clear memory of their previous life, some of those actually have recollection. They can also recollect this period as a pardo or as an intermediate state being.
다다 치매시 소이가라 아니 민지데 도착이니보다 아니 잠바데 가와데 시랑
잠바시다.
잠바시 동이 가와데
타도.
아니 타도 큰 요소가 하나 니트와데 한다 민지데도 한다 도착이니보다 그래서 너무 나서 따고 틀지 말라
아
야마다 밥을 하지 그러지 말아라 아니 그나가서 때문에는지 당 기류신이 쳐봐 있나요 난다 주로 그 아니지 선지지 공부 다 그렇지 마라 근데 다 시대에 들라 네 맞다 같은 거다 정리지가 아니 그 리딩 그니무상 근데 이제 상황이 맞다 봐도 무슨 신분들 여러 자꾸 잡았다는 게 된다 그래서 네, 단다 니 저한테 돈되니 단다 세미지 뭐라 돈이 없어가. 돈이서 가서라 돈이한테 그나 선실에 지스 잡았다. 잘라 당원이 냠바다니 세계 선실에 네, 냠바다 있습니다. 그래서 우리가 아니 단다 돈이 그 미랑이라 선실 선실은 우리 돈이하고 잡아도 근데 샤는 드리레스 그래서 단다 제서지로 대성돼 그러나 이 만들어 있나 단다 돈역을 그 스미신으로 돈역이 마서지 민주도 쓰는 기회래
재미시나는 미쇼스나
돈역 마서지 민주서 이게 당장 누가도 장하구나 그래서 나 루치 여러 시 걸어 쓰니까 그래요 신세당 스미신마 시작까지 신세당제를 제가 전에도 소원을 지요
세 당시에 전에 가리송가
그냥 돈역에 달라 지스만 신세를 지스 내를 지스하고 달라 더 아니면 받더니 신세당제 중에 때 돈역에 스티지 장도 기억을 해야지 근데 군대면은 전에 있었어 근데 장바된 차도 니볼 비해서는 이 차도들을
잠깐만 가와
그 차도 니볼들에서 그냥 차도들라 네 영어 그냥 또 기분 좋은 취미 영어 차도 기와라 정말 컨트롤 니볼 컨트롤 니볼 장바라 장바도 있어서 컨트롤들라 요 기분 좋은 된다고 그게 매담이 있어서 이 많이 되고 상황구에다 제가 봐서 그런다 컨트롤들라 진짜 요다도 다만 미세 시기도 되는 거죠. 정말 진짜 요다 진짜 다만 준비도 진짜 요다 있어요. 이나 때문에 그 진짜 되는 딱 단스 준비가 이게 컨트롤 요나 이 잠바전에 제가 어디 내렸을 때
다 이게 저를 뒤로 먹고도 그래도 지체나 잠못 차게 제가 담보 가려
저 담보대 이제 재미시 놀러라 돈이었어야 그 심지 탐시를 니를 지스 잡아보고 왔다. 아니 나와 냠바다 어디 제가 이나라. 근데 이랑 제가 아니 심지 탐시를 얘기가 니지스 제대로 소원하지 요래서는 되게
단념을 샤나 아니 이랑 닝지 요 디그레스나 갈래 그래서 이거
그러다 돈이 지 잠바지 입고 있어. 돈이 지스
대단하다.
잠바. 어디
다 단념데 아니 단념을 잡아봐 맞지? 기시 디나 아니 이랑 닝지 요를 배려네.
뭐다 심지 탐시는 미비 제가 시원해.
혹시 심지 단제를 미비 닝지 이랑 요를 배려면 되기도 하고 딜라는 되기도 하고
So his question is basically the question, there were quite a few questions that he asked. So Gichula said to first start with his first question. So his first question is basically saying that is it possible for a hero or solitary realizer to generate compassion that is directed at all sentient beings? But he asked in the context of the four immeasurables. So taking of the four immeasurables, taking equanimity or measurable equanimity. So equanimity being a state of mind that has a sense of equality or impartiality with regard to one's enemy and with regard to those who are close to us. Or with regard to those we are indifferent towards. So there's a sense of like impartiality. So first, after one generates impartiality or equanimity, focusing on all sentient beings, would it be possible for a hero or solitary realizer after that equanimity to also generate great compassion with regard to all sentient beings?
다 군제명아 뒤는 로라 단념세 지용고요래 디기제 시용도 랑기 셈디 아니 잘라 당와다 녀 차바디 아니 냠제 잔년이는 셈념 비기시거래.
So when we talk about equanimity, that needs to precede the technique of the 6 causes and 1 effect, so the 7-fold cause and effect method in order to generate bodhicitta, that being preceded by equanimity. That type of equanimity is a mind that is an impartiality, a balanced kind of impartiality with regard to one's enemy, with regard to those that are close to us, our friends.
다 체메시 나로라 단념 기지 시용도 있잖아요. 마랑기 셈디 잔년이들 셈념 비기제데 마임버체 심제 대다데 그이규를 다 뭐냐면 저어 잔년이를 셈마념 버치 어디 시니 심제 탐지 니린 차다미 닝기 다 단념라 아니 내고도스 더 건당 숨도 되게 숨도 디체나 됐습니다 차도로
However, when we talk about immeasurable equanimity, in other words, the equanimity that is associated with the four immeasurables, so in this case, we're not talking about impartiality that we generate ourselves with regard to one's enemy, one's friend, etc., but rather one wishes for other sentient beings to have that kind of balance, that kind of impartial state of mind. So in the sense that one wishes for other sentient beings not to feel close, not to feel far away, not to be attached, and not to feel aversion with regards to all sentient beings. So to remain free from a sense of closeness and distance, free from a sense of attachment and aversion. So this is what one wishes for others to be the case. So that's the kind of equanimity here, which is different from the equanimity that is the preceding factor that precedes the sevenfold cause and effect method.
다 인데다 랑산제를 니시신부 요르베시에들라 다 이저범 무저거 니시신부 요르세에 저거도 요마레세에 저거도 수수 고알레 민레다 미다미다 토네 다다 줌네데기 도지나로라 디요레 아니 닝지 니시신부마 인거 요르베스나 요레 니란주 닝지드레스 그래서 니란주를 닝지 요자 니시신부 요마레세네 식세부시다요 도나로라 디도디 랑지나 그 닝지 거들이 맞을 그 있어요 지금 다딜라디 칸다리양 가장 주스 레벨이 심지 탐지 동에다 잔나치 마롱 세야들라 로 절로 주식 세야들라 이주 다가라는 니메로스 코랑 절로 주식 세야 직체 얘기 절로 주식 내야지 수수 제법보다 되니 얘기 절로 다 절로라고 다 절로디 어디 얘기 제법은 하선 남나 하선로 제법은 다 제비 기체디 메버체 이는 얘기 심지 탐지를 팬도로 쇼스 내죠 어디나 신자로 주지 된지 계제의 쉐바이나 얘기 자로 주지 계제의 쉐바이나 연하라 매버체 얘기 계제의 매버체 지당 거랑 자로 주지 되는 라바이나 연하라 여버체 디디키마 메로디
니버디게 다samrada 어떤 니지 뭐 매버체라 telchi gyurchik seadira marangrangi cho gyurchik laedira dadi hasam chalda
맞아 자산 말이
디나samare
인지라는 인지 자산럽디 전딱 얘기 지긴 다 제로 제모tum네 얘기 제토를 쇼세 뭐는 제제 물어 저 자산 그 뭐야
아니 도기 챈
도생 땡입니다 땡입니다 도디는 지나서 그
아니 말이야 저 세상 뒤에 나가 도디 가면
도디람디
From the point of view of heroes and solitary realizers, so the issue here is, the debate is here, do heroes and solitary realizers, does great compassion arise in their continuum or not? So there's a lot of debate on this, there's disagreement on this, and there's a different understanding with regard to different people having different understandings with regard to this. But it's very clearly set forth in one of the sutras by the Buddha, where it says that someone asks, is there compassion which is not great compassion? And the answer is yes, there is in the continuum of hero and solitary realizers. So this is here, this is a presentation that is, this sutric source here, where it very clearly says that there is compassion but not great compassion in a continuum of hero and solitary realizers. That is given, that is cited, that sutra is cited in a sutra that is called the abbreviated Lamjik Sutra. I'm sorry, I cannot translate it correctly, but anyway, it's in this Dodi Lamjik Sutra. In this sutra, this is cited. And also, as Geshe-la talked about this before, he gave this explanation at an earlier point with regard to compassion. So when we speak of compassion, there's the wish for other sentient beings to be free from suffering. But there's actually a twofold. We can actually divide this into two. So there's a sense of how wonderful that sentient beings are free from suffering. And may they be free from suffering. Now with respect to the second aspect, may they be free from suffering. So it's how both are compassion, focusing on all sentient beings and saying how wonderful it would be that all sentient beings are free from suffering, as well as focusing on all sentient beings and wishing may they be free from suffering. Both qualify to be called compassion. But in this first case, it's merely a wish. In the second case, it is a wish of oneself. May I be able to free. So the wish, may I be able to free sentient beings. Now, I myself will free sentient beings. That wish is associated, this is no longer compassion, but this is the special altruistic attitude. I myself will do this. Whereas the twofold compassion here, it is just the wish, may I be able to liberate them. So it is explained that here, so there's this assertion, some would say that, or it's explained that, some would say that, some would explain that hearers and solitary realizers have the first type of compassion, focusing on all sentient beings. So may all sentient, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering. But they do not have the second type of compassion, which is the awareness, how wonderful, or may I be able to free them from all suffering. That's not, this kind of compassion does not arise in the mental continuum of hearers and solitary realizers. And then I checked again, what is the difference between may I myself liberate all sentient beings from suffering? What is the difference between that and the special altruistic attitude? And then I said, it's not just wishing, may I be able to free them, but it's the determination, I myself will do this. So that's the difference between the two. So the Sutra Dodri Lamjik you can find at Tsekchuling, and you can also find down at the Tibetan Library. I apologize, I don't know how to translate. There's a specific name. If I just translate it loosely, you may misunderstand it. So the second question is with regard to with regard to love, like taking of the four immeasurables, the immeasurable of love, that is considered to be an antidote to anger or aversion to anger. But there are two types of anger, Kushila is saying. So there's two types of anger. One type of anger is the type of anger that arises because of the elements in one's body being disrupted. So in other words, due to physical kind of problems. And that kind of anger can actually be cured or can be overcome by making sure, by curing the body, by getting better physically. Whereas on the other hand, there's anger that has been induced by self-cherishing or grasping at true existence, that has been induced by grasping at true existence or grasping at the self. How can limitless love be an obstacle, or be an opponent or an antidote, an opposing force or an antidote to that kind of anger? Anger that is induced by self-grasping, or anger that is induced by grasping at true existence.
That the condo mitawas like the condo ju mitawa charge this and the subugi chunha tune and condo chimbo chargona, Dilaya subu chanyam soyong the condo chung to a yungurva. That dinner she dinzingi toning, lambda the Zawapana charger, dinzil the neutral, this in the Zawala nebi chane, and condo jula nebi chane, condo shuchuru to a zana soya de yungurva.
So with regard to anger, actually we're not saying that those are two different types of anger, but we're saying that the causes of the anger is different here in those two cases. So in the case of the elements of the body being disrupted, well, all we need to do is balance those elements in the body, balance them out, and the anger will subside. So that is the cause for this particular anger. Whereas in the other case, the cause of the anger is grasping at true existence. So by eliminating that root, grasping a true existence, if we eliminate that root, we also eliminate that particular anger.
다 콘도사의 규디 거리네 매네 댄징이 군에 나네 단징이 군에 나네 수구머지 비터네 중네 맞중네 콘도사의 미상원의 삶이다 수술 팬도 제네네 콘도사입니다 다 충나도 여러 되는 팬도 제바지다 뇌계선 된 투어 여러마도 수술 팬도 제선 딩기 딘디 미디로 콘도사는 사시마로 다 충네 라모니 시 거리네 완전 진내서 수술 되거든 미팅버지 제바 삼로디 코르위 토네 콘도사고로 디지디스네 차보고네 디뇌 리모네 마레시아 잡보다 되는 가는 펜버 두고르시아 섬로 디게디 토네 콘도 창만은 그 거리네 매를 찍거랬다 님부터도 지고 지냐 차대다.
So with regard to no matter what is the cause of anger, it doesn't matter what is the cause of anger, whether it is grasping at true existence, whether it is grasping at itself, whether it's due to feeling physically unwell. So when we have anger, when anger arises in our continuum, this anger is not directed at all sentient beings, at all living beings. We do not have anger towards those that benefit us. Of course, we may be mistaken with regard to those who benefit us, thinking that they actually harm us. So due to this error, we may mistakenly believe that they harm us, although in actuality they benefit us. But thinking that, oh, they benefit me, while thinking that, it is impossible to be angry with that person. So therefore, first, in order to then overcome that kind of anger, in the case of feeling that someone harms me, someone, in order to overcome that sense this is a negative person and so forth, in order to oppose that, we generate love directed at that person. Love in the sense that understanding they don't really harm us, they actually benefit me. So love in that context benefits. Love is an antidote to anger, and it doesn't matter what type of anger, it doesn't matter what the cause of the anger is. If love arises in one's continuum directed towards a specific person, anger cannot arise towards that person.
계속 미디가 라니 내가 지어오더라. 그때는 또 컨트롤이다. 단 가서 미디린 타워데 요코 나치 친색 단스 시작지는 거지. 그래서 당장. 내가 나치 친색 단스기 정비 근데 그 내가 지게 돼 미디로 지체네. 비 연결 컨트롤이 비 정비 컨트롤 되는 손대지 컨트롤이야. 그다음에 요청.
총대.
그냥 나치 친색 단스.
단지도 총대.
손대는 딱히는 유진지네.
디대로. 디기 장보다 용으로. 디지버지야.
So here the question you
가지
asked.
가장이 미기 뇌제로. 다 미디 미다버와. 미다버 인디다 대링이 미디 통두전에 컨트롤사기도 와. 디 거르레스나 가장 미디 디레스. 마치 징징 단징 왕기 개버레스. 디를 잡아고는 가리 팽기를 끼지 디레다.
He's asking how can love be an antidote to a specific kind of anger which he described here. He described an anger which arises from a mind that grasps at permanence in the sense of perceiving an earlier moment of something and a later moment of something as one. So in other words then, what that means is that, for instance, one gets angry with a person yesterday, and then perceives that person yesterday and the person today as one, so a sense of permanence with regard to that person, and one is angry with the person today. So there's a sense that this person yesterday and the person today are the same, they're one, which is basically a reflection of a sense of permanence. One perceives this person to be permanent. So that serves as a cause for being now angry with the person today.
진짜 딜레 집어지잖아요. 가산내 경행이 코레스 라로. 삼로 디기 경기 다 단진 디 경기 컨트롤이 장기요래. 이내 대참기 컨트롤사기면도. 배나 다 로카시 라는 디로. 롱나만내 경행이 코레스 컨트롤 사고라 다 집어지잖아. 다 롱나만내 게 아니 내게 사회적으로 다와 나두기 제다 편도 쉬우지 제외나 롱나만내 경행이 디링이 접부드렸어. 근데 점제로 얘기도. 진짜 컨트롤사야디 단진 디경경기 말해. 그만은 뇌계버렸어. 다다 롱아면 뇌경이 코레 레디스 뇌경이 다다 라자 뇌계비 물을 유해피미 삼로 디기 토는 컨트롤사이도 마도 이마디 이마 생기 거는
So, for instance, when someone has harmed us in the past, so let's say someone has harmed us before, let's say last year, so as a result of that we got angry. But actually just that in itself is not sufficient for anger to arise, because let's say for instance some years ago or even just last year they harmed me, and so I'm angry. Actually I was angry due to that, but then after some months they may have helped me. So just because I see this earlier person and the person now as one, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm angry with them, because in the meantime they may have benefited me. Last year they harmed me, and therefore I was angry with them. But thereafter they benefited me, so I generated love and compassion with regard to that person. So this means that it's possible, although I perceive the person earlier, the earlier person who harmed me, and the person now as one, that doesn't mean I still have to be angry with them, because I could have generated love and compassion in the meantime. So there's no pervasion, in other words. It's not necessarily the case that if you perceive an earlier person and a person now as one, if in other words you perceive that person to be permanent, that you also have to be angry with them if you were angry with them before. So Geshe-la says one more question.
코랑이 최대기 돈이지 누구랑 민주치라가 가도이는 저 코탕체제 아니지 칼로다 거기 슝망부 여바이나야 거기 남추 자기 도바이나야 후슈 방금도 다시 슈고 가지실로 와이나 람산 탕다고 제지 슈클라야 도이 마이자 그런 도바나 신체마 도체 아니 강로 사기도 강장 사기디기야 셈나냐마 도기 강이 열었어 아니 디고라시 코란 셈리게 셀라마셀라 도자 크세부 메바도시 세부 메바도시 지 네데야다 인상 데이나 코베도 로타야게 도도 코짜네 로탄게 메라도 다지 슝 칼로다 도삼치야라다 다니 로탄게 메스타 코탈람 가르여다 답시 가르여지 코라 모투니지 다삼치.
So the question here is, dear Geshe-la, my health is not very good and I'm constantly tired. There are many Dharma texts that I need to study, but I can't. Even if I manage to read a few pages, I don't have the energy to contemplate on what I've read. So I can't retain what I've read. I also find my mind getting more and more dull. But I don't want to give up. What should I do? Thank you.
이해를 못했습니다. 다 개체와 디난론에 다 처상 신에기 디 숙제벌을 요마로 다 디난은 개체와 주제 내가 저거 개체와 지파 너는 이었어 다가라는 이민이 숨삼로다 야 개체와 지수 야 다가라는 이민이 숨삼로다 또 채널 관리 사도로.
So Geshe-la is saying, well, so with regard to this particular problem, so what you should do is like focus on just a little study. So not to it's impossible to do everything. I mean, it's impossible to know everything about the Dharma anyway. So to just take some of the essential points, to choose some of the essential points, choose them, kind of crystallize them, if you like, or take them out, and then gain some kind of understanding of them, and then think about them, reflect upon them for 2 or 3 days. And then again, take some more important, some essential points, again kind of try to understand them, contemplate on them for 2 or 3 days, and in that way continue on. Just kind of choose essential points and spend a few days contemplating on them.
다 거라이 내다도 참방이 계속 기타면 라투는데 니만가 막 로절 때 뒤잖아. 룬 슈자니 이데 바래. 베젤로디 전에 주지 체가 슬로나 우해. 하스킨 로투면도. 엔디 뭐시 디디가다 가서 저버져야다. 또 숙청부 집에 가도 인사를 리포트 전부 시비했어요. 등산이는 나다요 말. 다 가지 디체기 여인자 아니 자가시 단계 충중 지다 무슨 자가시를 가고요. 자가시 충중 지다 아니 신의 베젤로라 주치가 슬로트고 디메나 감정한테는 우해지. 아니 주치가 자가시 충중 지다 베제디 말로 아니 말로 사디디나 로네다 디테스케 쳐도 내가 지수 조도도 안티 내가디 직지 슈가 안티 아마나 루 아니 점점 더 셔. 또 거기 점점 더 세들 아주 자상기 다디어 사하다 두수 참아 전해지고라. 디나로를 칭담부시다 요말. 시테스테 딱 쳐오래. 거기 사하도 나가. 아파 친 아니 사하나테 아니 시에 나 파라파라래 디타스 지게 다스 섬타스 아마 디체 세미행 주제. 디제 참석을 섬이하고 고르거든. 디디디지 야 코사에도 인지 뭐 이거 자제 제시해야 코치 사이고에도.
So, Vigilant, he says, like, well, with regard to the exact situation of the person asking this question, he's not sure what is the exact situation of this person, but he took his own example. So when he was in the south at the age of around 22, when he was in the monastery doing his formal studies, so at that time, he had some physical problems. He was physically quite weak and sick. So he could not read for longer than half an hour. When he read the scriptures for more than half an hour, he became short of breath. He was not able to breathe properly. And so actually what he was able to do, his mind got really getting focused, but because of that, due to his debate and so forth, he kind of got really focused on the object, but that due to that incredible concentration, he was not relaxed enough to such a degree that he was able to read for more than 15 minutes unless he put on some music. So he had this Hindi music very quietly. He says he likes Hindi music. So very quietly, he had his tape recorder play a Hindi song, and that kind of with that in the background, instead of just 15 minutes. Instead of just 15 minutes, he was able to study for half an hour. So, and then what he did during this half an hour, before he became short of breath and he had to stop, so during this half an hour, together with this very quiet Hindi music, he would write down the most important points. Whatever was he considered to be most important with regard to what he had just read during this half an hour, he wrote it down, took the piece of paper, put it in his pocket, and went to a place in Drepung where they have like restaurant, like canteens where the monks can rest. And the discipline there is not as strict as it is in the rooms of the monks, in the hostels. There is much stricter. So there you're allowed to listen to music. And he would then take this note, and in the restaurant, in that relaxed atmosphere, he listened to music. He would listen to music and then think about these points again and again. Look at the piece of paper, reflect upon what he had written on it, such that some interest kind of arose, some liking of the subject matter arose in his mind, and in that way. He thought he did this continuously, and in that way accumulated knowledge, accumulated understanding by doing this continuously, again and again for half an hour, spending time reading, kind of reflecting upon this in a relaxed kind of fashion, and in that way his knowledge increased.
디제나 직제나 망보매 봐체 강 유에버디다 비다 버차에게 저어요. 수부 당나지 뭐 뭘로 아니 마레라나 라에 중에 뒤에 거리네 라에 중에지라 지양 시다 피다고 시다 메게지 뒤에 요시버지래도
So maybe in that way, you'll accumulate quality as opposed to quantity. So sometimes it may be that when you're really healthy and you're well, you read a lot of scriptures, scriptures, and there's a sense, yeah, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, but there's no real quality. So you end up having great quantity from the point of view of the points that you think about, but it's qualitative, it lacks quality. So it may be that in the case that when you can only spend less time or little time, that the quality of your understanding will be much better. So it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
就说不出也说不出，就是他的见解，他的见解是，所以就是。
지단은 게 비티겐라 긴시 톱신 데서 순간 기타 유딩이 된데를 보네. 데 겐게 고야라 겐철 할래 뭐불러오 말이스. 마 지시 엔티나로 nen가지 두제. 티니모 뭐sam다. 두제. 야만 보지. 디지디 겐라 지지 케버지 세고를 치버지 딘디 히라 매버체. 이네 nen가 체서도 줄라니 두제니 로주 제단데 디제바 인자 쇼 띠그리 못 줘야 유딩이지.
So Geshe-la's personal philosophy teacher was Geshe Chitpuk. So he's actually from Tibet, a teacher from Tibet, and a great scholar who has a lot of disciples. And the way this Geshe-la Geshe Chitpuk was studying, he was not someone who read a lot of different scriptures here and there, but he would take one essential point, kind of point, and reflect upon that for many days. So he was not able to cite this scholar, this person says this person says this about that. He was unable to kind of mention that or kind of share that with others. However, he was able to take the essential point and really go deeply into that and gain a deep understanding, a profound understanding with regard to this particular essential point.
남주야 되듯소예요. 상계신 답이신검이어와 답이신검 뒤절라 아니 최체발래 다단다 뭐지신검디 교부인자 딜의 최체는 배치워야 돼요. 야 상계시슈비 qabla 다 최종송 비다로송 다 딜의 야 등산 최종송나 편도 배치워야 돼요. 바기 내당 탑교부지 와 디제인자 다 디링제 샤바이나 다 내가 인도전에 다 미나신진의 로좀 짜침부제 디디 제도고 말해대 이내 제디 다 강에 유리유기 제인자 디고 망하다 그래. 손 막아싸 그래.
So usually it is said that when we talk about pure rounds, that from the point of view of one's practice in a pure round, this is said to be less effective as opposed to this round here, this kind of ordinary round, is said to be more effective to practice in this ordinary world as opposed to Buddha's pure round. Likewise, it is said that at the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha was around, keeping one's ethical conduct, keeping pure ethical conduct, was said to be less meritorious as opposed to keeping pure ethical conduct now. So maybe on the basis of that kind of concept or that kind of fact, maybe therefore if you're sick and you're not able to, as opposed to a person who's healthy and strong, if you face a lot of problems when you want to engage in Dharma practice, studying, etc., you're actually purifying more negative karma and accumulate more merit. So in that way, it may be an advantage.
지산타 산지 고마도를 두게이나 딜라 유망보고도 시라기 토네 빙이징이 토네 추림 제시기 토네 인도기 토네 유망보 고거 다제 다 디나로네 다 갈라월다 시라다 디즈이 토디 데스 다 미신나나 제도 말하다 수조가 이게 다 두고 말어 다 이내 중간매비 인도 게임 디지온데 인도 정도 시우 태주다 인도 비찬에 야 제도 밥을 해주고 这开始的多，我们密码通开始养安全里边的反正嘞，可是没几么的压多，我第三种是。印度嘅里边的呀，现在的他的差死了，他的，第几的之前呢要3年了，睡觉了2个月。
So actually, in order to become a Buddha, one needs many, many causes. Many causes need to come together in order to reach the state of a Buddha. So one needs wisdom, one needs concentration, one needs ethical conduct, one needs mindfulness, one needs determination, and so forth. So maybe in the case of a person who is sick, well, they may not be able to generate as much wisdom as someone who is healthy, but they may be able to generate more determination, more strength of mind. So this is similar to a person, for instance, who's blind, who cannot see properly. Then sometimes their ears become sharper. In other words, they can hear better than people who can see properly. So in the same way here, if something is missing, something else may grow stronger. So even if in a particular situation, one's wisdom doesn't increase as much as opposed to others, but one's determination, which is also one of the causes to enlightenment, that may increase. So who in the end, who becomes enlightened faster, the healthy person or the sick person, is hard to say.
지당 벽에디 최년세디 최년 로정체 멘티라데니 섬중계 공중계 도신 사이사를 줘야와 다 제상 산지 구진가마 질려야 전주생의 제 엔다 최 상계의 최년의 제고를 딜레 시행고세 최체 최균능게 말아버지 담아들 라디오전에 소레다 마치다 최능게 메스 최대난 차와다 아니 소 돌고야지 니지 든지 레디오전에 다 심지 탐지 대외의 치도 인삼니다 최근에 아니 메동나로 총지 소레다로와 매매기도로 총 디지디전에 지당기 내당의 신체바이나 먼저 남겨줘네 아니 같이 오르 최년이로 최년이 백디 삼중계 공중계 디치들의 디제어가면서 들어오나 최년이 같이 오르세요지로 이제 고랑이 닝도비기 백디 심지 탐지기 치도 상기의 치도 소레다 닝도비기 상기를 이르시우칭이다
So in general,
So
in general we say we listen to the Dharma, we study the Dharma in order to generate the wisdom that has arisen from contemplation, and thereafter the wisdom that has arisen through meditation, and that then takes us to Buddhahood. But there is a story of one of the previous lives of Buddha Shakyamuni. So at the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, when he was a bodhisattva, at that time he had a great wish, he had a great desire to study the Dharma, but he couldn't find anyone who was giving him teachings on the Dharma. And the only person he found who was willing to give him a Dharma teaching said as a condition for giving him this Dharma teaching, he would have to give up his life right afterwards. So, in this case here, what we would say, what is the point of doing that? You know, like first you want to receive Dharma teachings in order then to generate the wisdom arisen from listening, contemplation, and meditation. So what's the point? You give up your life thereafter. But in this case here, this bodhisattva, this particular bodhisattva, he generated the strong wish to benefit sentient beings. So with this strong determination, even though he was unable to generate those different wisdoms right after receiving the teachings, because he had to give up his life, but he generated this strong determination for the benefit of all sentient beings. I'll give up my life. And he jumped into a fire and died as a result of that. So even though he was unable to engage in all these practices as part of that life, but he generated such strong determination that thereafter, this in itself took him much closer to enlightenment. So this suffices for today. This is enough. So we finish here.
正如神主多智高级人员国内是当地人当的王这是变成的所以让这些